Last week, our wonderful collection of characters had decided to take the job that the Red Sashes had offered onto them. They had gone on this job looking for a specific warehouse in which a specific cargo would be inside of. They were asked to hide their intentions, to not let it be known that the Red Sashes were involved whatsoever. And their plan was to, after a fashion and after some investigation, their plan ended up being to sneak in at dusk when it was getting tremendously dark and steal the cargo in the dead of night. They successfully did so after, of course, engaging in a grisly combat, which ended with one of the soul jars actually getting knocked or crushed inside of one of the crates, and it released some sort of spirit or wraith before them that started lashing out and attacking people. And it was only by a combination of the group working together, and Blinder, of course, using his attunement, as it's called, to hold back the spirit long enough to have it basically discorporeate. Once they did so and everyone had regained their faculties, they quickly loaded up the cargo into the wagon they had rented and made their escape, evading any attention, it seems, for the time being, and successfully completing their mission. With that, the assumption would be that our characters had taken the cargo, returned to somewhere nearby in the Crowsfoot district to where their boat is at the old docks. And the first thing that I want to ask the cast tonight, just so we can, move forward into the downtime scene that I talked about last week, is where would the cast have planned to stash the cargo for the time being? Because obviously it's a big wagon full of cargo, and so it's not going to be able to be placed. I mean, you could, I guess, move it onto the boat, but then it's, very obviously on the boat. So that is an option. Was there any other ideas amongst the cast for where you would like to have stored your illicit goods?
Can we go back to the original smelly safe space?
Well, that's all the way in a different district than the night market. So you would have to move it all the way over to the night market, and then when you presumably gave it to the Red Sashes the next day, you would have to bring it all the way back.
I mean, I'd say we could drop it in my loft, but that's under observation at the moment.
And that's also in the night market.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of, basically your imagination can sort of determine what you could have done. You could have easily, paid off a person for a night of storage. You could have, found a dark, sort of dilapidated section of town and maybe hid it somewhere behind some old boxes or something, and maybe you kept a guard there throughout the night and you swapped guards. I mean, there's all sorts of ways you guys could have stored the cargo. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to decide how exactly you wanted to store the cargo, just in case it was important to you. Does anyone else have anything?
I think we kind of only have the one option for free unless we're going to pay for something.
Sure.
So let's just use the boat. That's my boat.
Yeah, I agree with the boat.
Okay. So with that, at the end of your adventure, presumably you try to choose a path. Oh, did you have something, Carver? Go ahead.
Could I have you out that maybe I'll go find some supplies to disguise the stuff as regular other cargo, like a tarp or...
Oh, you had stolen the canvas tarp, if I remember correctly, and set it over the wagon. So you do have
we did.
You do have a tarp that you could cover it up with. So it's not just going to be sitting boxes on top of the boat or anything. Depending upon where you put them, you could easily throw the tarp over them and have them blend in that way.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So at the end of the adventure, you headed back to the Crowsfoot district, presumably trying to avoid any person that might have been aware of your movement. And I presume that you didn't go just directly to the boat, just in case you were being followed. You probably took a weird path, maybe stowed the cargo for a minute to make sure that the docks were clear. Then all of you, working in two groups, will say, eventually once it's all clear, you end up moving the wagon over down onto the dock, deep, dark into the night. You unload the cargo to the best of your ability and then take the wagon, Reaper presumably taking the wagon somewhere else so that you can return it to the person, or you can stow it away and then grab it in the morning to move the cargo, should you need to. And so with that, I would now like to move to the next morning. The characters wake up, however restful their sleep might have been. Did you plan to have like sort of guard shifts or anything over the night just to keep an eye on the cargo or anything like that? Or do you all feel, because I'm not going to say that you like have it way out on the boat so it's super obvious or anything like that. Like you've safely stowed it. We'll even say down inside the boat, in one of the extra rooms. And so it's obviously safely stowed in the boat. So everybody could get rest, or, you could keep watch over the night, varied hours if you wanted to. What would the characters like to do? Go ahead, Blinder.
Blinder will approach Carver.
Okay.
While while we're stowing stuff,
Sure.
like kind of before we have the conversation, and basically, I've noticed that you've been having issues, difficulties. You've been sleepwalking, as we discussed. I was wondering, I would be fine if taking a guard duty for most of the night, if I could also observe your sleep, perhaps, because I'm going to be doing so anyway. It's a concern of mine. I once had a friend who had similar habits. Do you mind if I just poke my head in? Otherwise, I mean, if not, I suppose we could. I might as well get some sleep, right?
Sure. It's a bit of an odd request, but yeah, I suppose it could help to have someone with your specialty look in on certain things.
Of course, yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. And with that, Blinder will volunteer to take the lion's share of watch.
Okay.
I'll come spell you at about 4 a.m. That's generally when I wake up.
That'll be sufficient.
All right.
Okay. So, go ahead.
I'll take the shift with Blinder.
Blinder will. Okay. Sure.
So I presume then that there will be some role play during some of these scenes. So if you would like to, we can move to those scenes, and those conversations can be had. If there was plan, if you wanted to engage in some role play regarding the shifts during the night, even if it's a quick thing, whatever the case may be.
I think Blinder will probably seize upon that opportunity.
Okay.
With Reaper alone. Yeah, he'll probably I think a scene would be in order with that.
Okay, so why don't we just transition to those scenes, and we'll do those, and then when everybody's done, we'll say that the night has resolved, and we'll move forward from there. So why don't we just start, since you just talked about it, why don't we start with Reaper and Blinder during their period guarding the cargo, the ship, etc. during the night.
So Blinder will had made tea and set it out and offer Reaper some as a kind of an excuse to get her in. I mean, does she sit in the main area with him, or is she just like?
She'll sit in the main area with him. She'll go and pace the boat and stuff like that, and then come back and sit. She'll accept the tea.
Do you like 1 or 2 lumps of sugar?
2. I like it over sweet.
So, you and I haven't really discussed. obviously we've been in conversations with the rest of them, but I out of all the other individuals, I don't think you and I have ever had the chance. This is the seems like our first opportunity to really kind of get to know each other a little bit.
So what do you want to know?
But I think what's puzzling me is well, I understand Martin's motivation. He has had his reputation sullied and is now has a price on his head, and he needs to find somebody who is dear to him. Mr. Carver, I think I think we all quite would sympathize with his motivations. Having difficulties, since basically, well, somebody did try to kill him apparently, and he seems to be rather hunting for something. But you, other than I have never really, other than Mr. Aldo, we don't know what has happened to yet. He is still in the process of healing. I don't. Why are you doing this?
I want to find out, obviously, who wanted to kill Aldo and who's attacking him. But as far as this whole thing that we've embarked on, it's always moving up time. You're always moving up. I'm a fighter in the pits, and that's great, but if my friends are in danger and I consider you guys my friends, new friends, then I'm going to do everything in my power to help.
Well, why have you decided I mean, obviously we are kind of stuck in a matter of circumstance, but it rather confuses me. Mr. Carver, I understand, he seems to have a history with people who have taught him to trust and have rewarded that trust with honesty and forthright actions. Mr. Martin is a realist, but you, to use such language is rather confusing.
What did you expect?
Well, I suppose I've taken your comments about how lethal, your indifference towards crime, even violent crime, too literally, I suppose.
I'm not willing to take somebody's life, and I'm not willing to allow somebody else to take somebody's life. But if it comes down to self-defense, where it's going to be one of my own or myself, I won't hesitate.
This is interesting. Very, very interesting. Enjoy your tea. I think I'll go and check on Mr. Carver now. I think I hear him stirring.
Sounds good. Good talk.
Yes. And with that, he'll get up and walk towards Mr. Carver's room and poke his head in, even though he knows he's sleeping, he hasn't heard anything. And yeah.
Did Carver and Martin want to have some sort of scene? Because they were planning to guard together as well, I believe? Or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, I don't know if Carver wanted to guard, but I was going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were gonna take the early watch.
All right. Well, then I suppose during this watch, Martin is going to come up to Carver, be like, "Hey, Carver, what's up?"
Not a whole lot. How about you?
There's a lot going on in my life. We know somebody who does ghost stuff. How cool is that? I mean, it's terrifying at the same time, but how cool is that? And you can see as he's talking about it, he's got this piece of like really frilly lace, and that he's kind of like he's just kind of wringing in his hand.
That's pretty cool. Do you mind if I ask you something?
Go for it.
This isn't a poke fun or anything, and I'm not looking down on you. What is the significance of that? And he points to the frilly lace.
Oh. When I was a kid, Amanda and I had, who I'm still looking for, by the way. So if you hear the name Amanda Aglet, please let me know. We had fun as kids. We hung out a lot. She's a few years younger than I am, but still didn't matter. And we came upon somebody in an alleyway at one point, and they were no more, but above them was this thing. And this was the chunk of, it was a ghost. That's the only word I know how to call it. But I decided to run from the thing, and I had to kind of drag her away from it, and I accidentally tore this piece off of her dress. But ever since then, this little piece of fabric, it's kept me safe from ghosts. And I don't know why. I don't know. I think I put so much panic into this little piece of cloth here that ain't nothing can get me while I got it. He kind of puts it back in his pocket. So apparently you and I are both hunted men.
I'm hunted for different reasons.
I was gonna get to that. I mean, I don't remember you mentioning why you were being hunted.
I don't know if I stated it, but the short and skinny of it, I was involved in some sort of conspiracy, or more specifically, I was the target. And arriving here in Duskfall, inquiring about the failure of the train.
Which is...
I alerted those in the know about this conspiracy, their plan, whatever. And they came after me, and they've been after me.
Huh. I'm
was
not
actually
even 100% sure why I'm being hunted.
Yeah.
At least you have, like, legitimate reasons for people wanting to kick your ass.
Well, believe it or not, I actually had a moment of panic when meeting you all, because for a moment, I thought Aldo was someone familiar. My first night in Duskfall, I was assailed by a person.
Oh.
that person had a knife. And unfortunately for them, I was better with that knife than they were. So until I saw Aldo's face, I was actually quite nervous about being around the lot of you.
Huh. So you killed anyone? Or did you kill... You said you were better with a knife. Did you kill him? Did you kill them?
I didn't intend to. If he expired, it was probably his own fault after that point.
Fair enough. Get stabbed, the worst thing you can do is pull the knife out.
But the conspiracy, the thing that everything comes back to is train accident in the desert.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything about that.
Nobody has.
Do you think that would make news?
You see, the company likely does not want to incite any panic when it comes to the safety of their trains, considering that it is one of the few safe methods of travel, if not the only one, between the cities, between the provinces.
Maybe. I don't know.
How they managed to cover it up with as many people as did not make it, that is a strange thing to me.
Well,
And
hey, you seem like a kind of alright person. So, I'll tell you this. Anybody comes for you, you're going to have to go through me first. Like, the other two, I like them. You know, I like parts of them. You know, like that blinder fella. He's kind of squirrely, don't you think?
Blinder is unique in that he's probably seen some things that we could only imagine. If you look at the way both of us handled the ghosts that appeared and the way that he handled them, if he failed to flinch at those but is still nerve-wracked by other things, then what sort of horrors has he seen?
Ooh. That's a good point. That is a good point.
You know, I was
Well, all right
attempting
then.
to arm myself against things of that nature.
Oh,
My contact went missing.
awesome.
I
I'm
do.
not going to ask for the name of your contact because that's your business. It ain't my business.
Yeah.
But what's his name, or what's their name, just in case I hear it?
Connor Whistler.
Connor Whistler. All right. Well, if I hear the name, I will let you know. Yeah. Now Reaper. I like Reaper. She's got a scrap in her. I like her.
So, with that, we'll presume you guys enjoy, chit chat throughout the rest of the night,
Yeah.
and we'll transition to the last scene before we get into the downtime phase. As Carver sleeps, Blinder has checked in on him. As Blinder, how long do you spend there, Blinder?
If I don't see him stirring or anything like that, not very long. Because Blinder doesn't want to wake Carver accidentally, he'll come in, he'll peek around a little bit. But if he is kind of moaning like he's maybe going to enter a dream or something like that, or it looks like he's fitfully resting, then Blinder will as quietly as possible try to observe what happens.
Okay. So you're waiting till much later in the night before you check in on him, or what is the plan there? Just so I understand the sort of timing.
As soon as he notices that Carver goes to sleep, you know, he'll give him about 3 or 4 hours, you know, and then poke his head in.
So it's one of those things where it's like, because they took the first watch, you were sleeping, and then once you woke up, we'll say you did your guard shift kind of a thing, and when you took like maybe a short break, you know, after your conversation with Reaper, you checked in on him. So in the wee hours of the morning, when there's still, you know, quite a bit of darkness in the sky, is when you checked in on him. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you check in on him, and as you open the door, before you even open the door, you don't see the blue hum, or hear the hum, or see the blue light. As you open it, though, you see Connor is awake, but not awake. He is stirring. He's sitting at the porthole, and it looks like he's staring out into it, like he's staring out away from the door. He's quietly mumbling something.
Blinder will reach into. He's kept a piece of paper, and they don't have like portable pens, do they? It's ink and quill, right? Or
yeah, it's mostly ink and quill. I mean, there's probably some Sparkwright somewhere that made something, or you know, an inventor of some variety that is working on, you know, some sort of filling ink pen. But for now, it's mostly quill and ink out of like a little bottle or something.
Yeah, he'll take out a bottle of ink and a little like notepad journal sort of thing that he's found in probably the captain's office.
Okay.
And you know, he'll listen really intently, just in the corner off to the side where he set a stool before Carver went to sleep, because they had arranged that he would watch him or poke in on him. And he'll just sit there and listen and try to make out whatever he can. He'll close his eyes even if he has to.
Okay, so he's just trying to focus in on what Carver's saying. Carver seems to be whispering on such a soft tone that it's almost incoherent. It almost seems like he's mumbling, perhaps, or the words seem erratic. It's obviously not a spoken language that you're familiar with. And so it's hard to really grasp any sort of detail as to what it is that he's specifically saying.
Even if he's not speaking a language, Blinder will write out phonetically what he hears.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Right? Sure. So he could just try to repeat it later on, you know what I mean? Like, and try to see if he can sort it out later if he has access to whatever research materials that he can find.
Okay. Is he's just writing down what he hears then?
Basically,
he's not trying to sound them out or say them or anything like that?
No, not really.
Okay. He spends how long does he spend doing this?
He'll spend quite a long time. He'll probably spend at least an hour.
Okay.
Doing it.
As time goes on, then spending that hour, you realize that after about 10-ish minutes, and you didn't realize it at first, right? But as you get through, you said about an hour, so as you get through, you know, several 10-minute sort of windows, you realize that it seems like he's almost regurgitating the same thing that he had said 10 minutes before. Even though you don't know the words and you're not quite sure of the specific details of everything, it sounds close enough. And then as you're listening, you start hearing keywords again that you start looking for. By the third, we'll say that the half an hour, you're like, wait, okay, he said this, and then he said that. And then by the 40-minute mark, you're like, okay, he said it again. Okay, yes. And so, by the end of the hour, even though you may not have been able to write down everything that was said, because, it's not a consistent string of like syllables. As I had said, it's erratic, right? But it seems to have a cadence and some sort of rhythm to it.
Okay.
Where it always seems like the same amount of time is taken in pausing between certain blurbs of sound. And by the hour mark, you've gotten quite a bit of it, and you are very sure that he is reciting probably the same thing over and over and over again. And as you think back to the time that you woke him up, you remember him before you had woken him up and before he had said specifically things in Akaros to you. You think that you remember that he might have been saying something similar, or at least a portion of it.
Does the necklace glow blue at all, or
No?
the last thing that he'll do is if unless something changes, of course, is he'll try to attune to see if there's to kind of sense how the ghost field is interacting with him at this area. Okay.
I'll say at the end of the hour you decide to do that. So about the end of the time where you're like, okay, I think I've gotten this down. Now I need to see. So go ahead and roll your attune. You're in a controlled environment, as controlled as it can be, with standard effects, because you're able to take your time.
Okay. 6 and 2 3s.
Okay, so a full success. The familiar feeling of a cold chill flows through your body. Initial, a sort of sensation like a draft from the window, even though the window is a porthole and closed, passes over you. There is a almost palpable energy in the room, and you can feel it immediately. And as you attune, your senses blur. Your eyes seem almost to bloom with the light around you, like shafts from the candlelight nearby that you've been using to take notes. The soft moonlight of the Dimmer Sisters, as it's known, which is the reflected moons in the skies, is casting light in shafts down through the window. There is a thick, almost audio wall, in a sense, that as soon as you hear it, it just flows over you. At first, as you're attuning, there are all these physical sensations and visual sensations, and then all at once, like you're passing through a gateway or through a threshold, there's this wafting of energy, and you start hearing the same things that you heard Xylus saying, whispered in voices all around you, like different voices saying the same thing. You hear it repeated, almost like it's nearby and then far away, and then it's a man, and then it's a woman, and then it's someone young, and then it's someone old. There's this difference of timbre and tone to the different sounds, but the cadence remains the same. After a few moments pass, the energy crackling, as you've seen it before, like a heartbeat off of Carver's chest, starts to light up out of nowhere. It seemed dark, and then all of a sudden, like the first beating of a heart, all of a sudden, an energy like ectoplasm flows out from him, almost like veins connecting him to everything around him, and encompasses the room sending shafts through the boat. That faint, ghostly, pale reflection of the surroundings outside of the ghost field, and it starts to emanate through it. Are you doing anything else at this point, or are you just taking note of what's going on?
He will be completely because he didn't expect anything like this. And he's stopped and he's just enraptured. He'll when he ceases his attune almost instinctively, because he'll start. He's reaching out towards him.
So he's going
and,
to end up ending his attune.
Yeah, he'll recoil, and it'll be so sudden that he'll in a surprise almost trip over the chair and fall against the wall.
Okay. So
probably very loudly for
as he starts to tumble from this energy and is shocked by it and is recoiling from it, Carver turns almost like robotically, just turns on his heels, looking right towards Blinder, and then starts speaking in Akaros. At first, it's very soft, and you can't hear what he's saying. And then you realize what he's saying as it sort of softly drifts through the room. There you are. I think. Is that you? Ezra. He says as he's slowly walking towards you. And then it gets louder. And as the attunement breaks, and your senses return out of the ghost field, the whispering ends, the sensation ends, and Carver is still slowly walking towards you, whispering your name. And then as you fall and crash, creating that loud noise, all of a sudden you see him sort of shake awake, and he sort of falls to one knee. And you wake up, Carver. Oh, and the last bit of information here that I want to share is as the attunement broke, you notice that the blue glow of the necklace had actually been glowing. And then the moment that you crash and there's that noise and Carver starts to wake up, it goes away. It's just gone, like a light or a candle flickering out.
Good morning. Ezra or Blinder is obviously visibly shaking. When you wake up, if you're looking around, it's up to you whether or not you notice. But there's a very pause where he's like, I gotta say something, and then he's just kind of furtively looking at you to see if that it took,
I feel like something happened.
Well, yes. Yes, something certainly happened. You were sleepwalking again.
I dreamt I was being dragged through the desert again.
Who is dragging you in these dreams?
The raiders.
Raiders.
Outcasts.
When you were out there, do you know if you came in to contact with anything that is not human?
Yes.
I see.
Not direct contact, but It spoke to me.
It.
Whatever it was, spoke to me. Called my name.
I'm going to ask you a question. And I expect you'll want to instinctively... well, your necklace. How important is it to you?
Connor gave it to me and said that it would be helpful in hearing
Hearing what?
the voices.
Oh! Well, that explains everything. Who's Connor?
Connor's the person who was performing the ritual, as far as we know. He's the one who went missing.
Well, Mr. Connor has inflicted you with this malady. I don't want to say what is happening to you. I don't know what is happening to you. I have observations to go talking about them with others, even the friends or companions or whatever you want to call them, is probably not wise because it is all speculation at this point, even by me. But I think Mr. Connor gave you something that is greatly manipulating the ghost field. The spirits around you seem to be tuning into you somehow, or drawing to this thing around you. I don't know what is happening, though. I don't pretend to understand it. In fact,
Connor told me that it would help me hear the spirits, help me feel their presence.
Why do you want to hear spirits?
Because I need to know if certain people are alive. And if they aren't, I need to know the answers that only they can tell me.
Mr. Carver? You have absolutely no idea what you're tasking or what you are in. You have a choice. Because once you start listening to them, you will never be able to stop. It's not something you want. Trust me.
Well, I can't not hear them. It's not as if I can hear them clearly, though. Murmurs every once in a while in a crowded place.
I would leave it there. If it was just murmurs for the rest of your life, but is not this...
You don't understand. It's a nagging. Constantly having someone reach out to you with an important message that you can neither hear or touch. I am unable to receive messages that are necessary.
Well, needless to say, I would not be speaking about this until we have more precise answers as to how this thing will affect you. Because if you are drawing attention from other entities, I think that they are able to exert maybe perhaps some sort of persuasive power over you, which is why you are walking around mumbling. I wrote down some of the things that I believe you were saying. Was it hard to tell? Don't ask me why I'm helping you. I don't pretend to understand myself. They shouldn't bother you for the rest of the night. I believe I should attend to the rest of my watch. With that, he'll leave the handbook down. I'll fetch this later. And turn and walk out.
Okay. With that, I think we'll leave that scene there for now, and we'll now move on to the next morning, unless anybody else had something of importance. Okay. So the next morning, after your shifts, etc., you've all gotten rest. Some of you more than others. And you awaken to the smell and sound of food. For those of you who do get up immediately, you notice that Mercy is quietly, as quiet as can be, sort of cooking food in the kitchen area of the ship. And there is a kettle that seems to be steaming at this point. And yeah.
When Carver comes down into the galley, anyone looking will notice that the necklace is no longer on him.
What did he do with it, by the way? Just out of character, wondering.
He shoved it in the toy.
Oh, okay. So he's no longer wearing it on his person, but it's on the toy now. Oh, it's like in a back thing. Okay, but he's not wearing it around his neck.
It's in a satchel in his room.
Okay.
The toy is.
Okay.
Ezra will come down and very tired and but he'll sit down and drink his tea.
As you enter the kitchen area, you will notice that Malone LaRoche is sitting there having a cup of tea. Seems to be reading the Gazette, the Duskfall newspaper.
A Reaper will come down last. Is there an outside to the kitchen? Is there like you can step out a door and be outside?
No, it's like in order to get down into the ship, it's basically one passageway in and out. Think of kind of like a yacht, right? So everything is down inside of the ship, and there's sort of a hatchway towards the back of the ship. You basically come up onto the top of the deck, which you can walk around on top of if you wanted to. And then there's, the section where you actually drive from that sits up higher, and there's like a stairway that leads down to the below section inside there, but there's actually, there would be a door right next to the driving section. So there could be, if you wanted to go up the stairway to the driving section, then yes, there would be another door out. And then there's also the back door that leads down into the area that is a hallway and has the bunk rooms off of it, and then it leads to the kitchen area, and then to the last room is a sort of bathroom space.
Reaper's gonna go up to the deck and smoke a cigarette.
Okay.
Carver's gonna go after a mooch.
Oh, sure. So Carver heads out there to smoke as well. What Martin presumably is doing his morning workout routine, if I remember right.
He is, yes.
Excellent. So he's, we'll say he's a few sets in already. And what is Blinder doing? That's exactly how it works out, by the way.
Blinder is going
That's
to...
exactly how it worked out.
Why? Just like as a side, I just imagine you have like one of those step fits or something, like. Anyway, so Binder will be having tea. He'll see Malone Morosh is there. He'll actually not really acknowledge. I mean, he'll say, "Good morning. How you doing?"
Sure.
And then sit down and he'll look penitently at the ledger or the notebook that he had fetched in the morning after Carver had left. We'll assume like Carver maybe left it, in his room or something like that. They were basically they passed it with each other without having any real conversation.
Sure.
And he'll be just kind of flipping through some of the notes he took, and then he'll put it away and then just quietly have tea.
Sure.
He'll look at the bottom of the notes and it says, "I am sorry."
So go ahead.
After a little bit, Reaper will come down and join everybody else in the kitchen and grab herself a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm. There's tea, and of course, now that Mercy is aware, there's a coffee set to the side already for Reaper.
All right, forget the tea. I'm going for the coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mercy.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Martin?
Oh, I was just saying, Morton comes in, pours himself some tea, see if anybody else's teacup is low.
Sure.
And kind of looks around, tops off people's teacups, puts the kettle back down on the table.
You'd probably have to grab their glasses because it's one of those pour-over things that holds the leaflets. So you'd be like, "Oh, can I get you more?" And then you'll grab the glass, you'll go ahead and put the thing on it, pour it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can do that.
More tea?
Yeah.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, not a problem. More coffee for you?
Martin presumably is saying to Reaper.
Reaper. Yeah. More coffee?
Yes, please.
Tops off the cup.
So he had been quietly sitting there while everyone was preparing and everything. He hasn't really said anything. But once everyone is sort of in the same space, settling, getting breakfast, he will look at whoever's nearby and whoever happens to notice or is looking at him for the moment. I presume not everyone is. But whoever might be looking at him, we'll say blinder for a second, like maybe glances over and he glances back. He's like, "May I smoke in here?" Yes.
I don't really mind.
Sure.
And then he'll stand up, like open the porthole window, because they have some windows that do open and then they can seal back shut. Opens it up, and then will basically stand there smoking and puffing the smoke, close to and out of the porthole.
Is there he'll actually look to Martin and Reaper, and then Reaper and be like, how do we do this? Yeah.
Do you want to take your Reaper or should I? Well, you know what? You probably take it. You're better acquainted with him.
So it seems we're done, and it seems
yes. I've heard.
Yes. So, well, obviously
I don't want to interrupt you, but we do not need to speak officially right now.
Okay.
Let us have breakfast and enjoy ourselves. And I will tell you the titillating tale that I had heard about your escapades last evening. I am quite surprised to see you up so early, though. I've heard it went very late, if I remember right.
No rest for the wicked.
It would seem.
Or the well-paid.
It would seem. So that you are aware, I will not be doing the official negotiations. I came here at your leisure to collect you, so that we may return to Madame Rowan, and you may deliver the goods, if you so choose, unto the Red Sashes. However, if you choose not to, that is your choice. But as I had said, I've heard an interesting tale, you see. I've heard that a deal went sour between the gondoliers and the lampblacks. I've heard that a man by the name of... what was the name? I wrote it down.
Frankie.
Yes, a man by the name of Frankie Maynard apparently went bad on a deal and decided to send a group of people in to burn down the warehouse.
That poor bastard.
Yes. They did not discover who it was that was responsible, nor were they able to turn over any information as to who they were connected to. It is presumed that they are a new crew in town establishing some sort of territory, turf, whatever the case may be, making a name for themselves. We all know the truth of the story. And of course, it is your choice to continue with it, if you wish, as long as our deal remains. If the Red Sashes had no involvement in this, then this tale is quite interesting, and although I cannot speak for Madame Rowan, I would say that to my ears this is pleasant to be heard.
That's very good to hear.
Yes. But let us enjoy. Seems Mercy has been cooking for some time.
Carver's like bouncing his leg up and down, and he's like, Mercy.
What?
Okay. Now can you tell us?
Oh, tell you?
Been driving me nuts.
She looks over at Malone, and he's like, Malone was supposed to tell you about one of the lampblacks' name, and if you had that name, it would have been far easier to find them. It was a person by the name of Tilly Hale, who was a foreman in the area. So presumably, if you followed the clues to Tilly Hale, which wouldn't have been a hard time, you would have found the lampblack warehouses pretty quick and easy. Malone looks at all of you, and he sort of smirks and smiles at this exchange, and then just drinks his tea quietly. So with that, unless somebody else wishes to say something specifically in this morning time, which you're all welcome to, does anyone have anything? Okay, I'm going to say that you're well breakfast. You've all had your coffee sip, your tea sip, whatever the case may be. You've eaten to your full, at least for the morning, however you choose to eat, or what you choose to eat. The breakfast is basically the same thing it was yesterday. You will notice that there's not a whole lot of things that keep super well. There is relatively fresh fruit now. It is not perfectly fresh, relatively fresh fruit.
It's good enough for me.
There is still a little bit of the scones left over, although they have dried a bit in the last day or two. There is, of course, eggs and toast, and there is, sadly, no bacon, because all of the bacon was eaten the other day. So other than that, you all are well breakfast, and at that point, Malone says, well, I have eaten to my full. I do not wish to rush anyone. Please take your time. But I would ask... so that I know how much time we should prepare for. Actually, you know what? I will not rush you, nor will I put you on the spot. That would be impolite. How about this? I will provide Mercy with the location. I mean, you have been there before, but Mercy will guide you. And then the decision as to whether you wish to sell the cargo back to the Red Sashes, you can make before you arrive, so that you do not feel, shall we say, my judgmental eyes falling upon you when you decide to make your decision. With that, though, it has been a nice breakfast. Thank you, Mercy. But I must go and let Madame Rowan know that you are preparing, and that I presume, shall we call it afternoon? Yes?
Yeah, we can do that.
Sounds like a plan.
Excellent. In the afternoon, she will be expecting you. Good day to you. See you in a few. He picks up his hat and his cane, folds up the newspaper, setting it down, finishes the last bit of his tea, putting it on the plate, and then putting it nearby in the kitchen, and then slightly nods to all of you as one. Basically, he doesn't individually nod. He does one of those just like nods to you all. He looks to Mercy though, and he gives a very deep bow to her, and then he leaves. As his footsteps disappear through the sound of the hallway up onto the top of the deck and then off onto the dock, Malone LaRoche, at least for the time being, is no longer on board.
All right. So, we are selling these things back to them, yes?
I don't know. I think this is Blinder's territory.
Well, yeah.
I believe that I have no wish to use these vessels. I think they would best be used for profit at this point. We have no bacon, so I mean that quite honestly shows us our financial state of affairs.
That's very true. Fair.
I'm in agreement as well. It could
We have no bacon.
best be used as profit.
If we have no bacon, we should be bringing home bacon. Good tea, though.
Oh, fucking bacon. That was just fake. That was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. Sorry,
Pun
bro.
drop.
Yeah, no, that was not only the pun drop, but it was a callback to the lack of no bacon, and then the tie into the money. That was well done, sir. Well done. Well done.
Bakeception.
Okay, yeah. Baconception. Yep. In game, out of game, in game. Yeah,
Oh,
good.
meta jokes. Meta jokes.
it's good stuff. Okay,
where it's at.
so presumably you guys can feel free to talk. I will not fast forward time until you get to a point where you've basically made your decision. Does anyone else have anything they want to add or want to continue the RP? You're more than welcome to.
Well, how much are we going to ask for them? How many of these jars do we have?
You haven't opened up all the
Michael.
boxes, so you're not sure.
Well, let's find out how many of these we got. Or are we just opening up
I'll go and oversee the taking inventory. Just because Blinder will be like, I, you can watch, of course, but let me handle the objects if they are, and if there's.
I'm just opening boxes.
Sure.
Very carefully. Just get a crowbar and kind of.
So, I haven't put a specific number on the amount of crates it was. I just said it was a wagon full. So, rather than go into the specific detail of how many boxes and therefore how many vessels there are, we're just going to say there's quite a few. However, the sizes vary. So, like in one box you open it, there might be only like one large, almost like cookie jar size one kind of a thing. And then in another box you may open, there might be much smaller ones, like a mason jar here, kind of a small little ceramic one here, that sort of thing. All of them seem to be like bound. Not all of them. Quite a few of them seem to be bound shut so that they don't seem to open, but that there are a few you have noticed that are not bound, and at least Blinder would understand that those ones are empty, but presumably them being here with cargo means that they are still in fact soul jars and are therefore capable of holding souls, which is, although may not be quite as expensive to buy, it is still worth money.
Okay, Carver. Not Carver. Sorry, Blinder. My bad. Blinder. What
Yes?
would you price all this at?
I have absolutely no clue. To be quite honest with you, I know what they are. I've never. This is other than last night. This was the first time I've ever really looked at one.
Oh, do you know how to use them?
No.
Well, then I guess selling them is a good thing to go, unless you want to keep a couple and see if you can figure out how they work.
I have absolutely no interest in that.
Okay. Well, was there anything of note in the crates aside from the soul jars?
Who is the one searching the crates?
Well, I'm just popping them open.
He's opening them, and Blinder is going through them and actually searching and taking an inventory.
Blinder, then. Give me some sort of investigation type roll.
Okay. Since he's being so studious, since he's being so focused and going through everything, he's gonna use study.
Sure, perfect. While he's doing this,
6 and a 4.
6 and a 4, perfect. I will mention that Doug, wonderfully, him and I were having a conversation the other day, and I just want to remind everyone, and also I reminded myself, that in this wonderful game of Blades in the Dark, there are certain conversations, it is called the conversation, there are certain conversations that take place in regards to roles and mechanics and things like that, and there are certain sort of power paradigms, in a sense, where the decisions, the ultimate decision about how something is done is certain position's decision, right? And in the case of challenges, just a reminder for the cast and for the audience, the cast members or characters have the final say about what challenge should be used. However, I will say this, that when it talks about that, it says, basically to the effect, it says, the thing that would make the most sense to be used, in a sense, if I remember the verbiage as it would be. And so because of that, it's one of those things where the player ultimately gets to make the decision about the challenge that is done. But it shouldn't be something that's like so far off that you're just like, okay. And in the case, the mechanics state that in the case that the player does choose to use a skill that absolutely makes no sense whatsoever, I, as the game master, have the opportunity and power, in a sense, to give that action with that skill a much, much, much more severe difficulty and ability to accomplish the task. And so that's the sort of give and take that you'll see in this game. Just to sort of bring that up and remind the players of that. So, yes.
Respect page 6.
Yes, page 6. Respect page 6, yes. Yes.
Yeah, there's other rules as well, but like basically there's like certain people, the game master has the final say in certain situations, and the players have final say.
Yeah. And just to read the specific lines so that people know what I'm talking about, where there's this sort of understanding, it says, which actions are reasonable as a solution to a problem, right? So if it's something that's just completely unreasonable, then, it makes sense. And that's what the conversation is about, is me being like, I'd like to see an investigation of some type. So something that's would reasonably make sense as being an investigation, right? If I was like, you're looking through the boxes and investigating, and then Doug's like, I'm going to use wreck. I'm like, yeah, that's not really a reasonable, unless you're just smashing them on the ground and looking through all of them, which I don't think is the case, then yeah. But anyway, so return to it. So you had gotten, what was the roll?
6 and a 4.
6 and a 4. Full success. While you're going through the boxes, as I had said, you had found some of them that seem to be sealed, and some of them that do not seem to be sealed. But what you do find amongst the boxes, and there's only one of them, is this, it seems like almost like a flake of stone. And as you turn it over in your hand, and it's about, it's pretty small, right? It's like that big, like a shard almost of stone. As you turn it over, there is scrawled across one side is an inset engraving, but you can't really see the full picture at all. You just see a portion of it. It seems like maybe it had been part of a nicer jar or something, or something of that variety.
Blinder will point it out and raise it, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. I don't think we should sell this. This may have been a part of one of the jars easily, but is rather odd.
Well, and it's also, I will point out, it's the only thing that's made of stone. The rest of them are made of like ceramics or glass or things like that. This is the only piece of like stone.
This is
thingy,
interesting. I would like to keep this for further study. That would be fine. I think should be the only thing that we should keep. It doesn't have any value anyway, as far as I know.
Okay.
That's fine.
So so what do we want to price these things at?
I would say let them pay you, and then, or let them offer, and then, whatever it is, raise the price.
That's typically how you negotiate.
That's not how I negotiate, but we're trying to be nice.
Yes, we know. You like to punch things and hurt things and break things. We get it. We're not doing that right now.
And when you say that, you see there is kind of like this kind of flash look over Martin's face. It is kind of like his eyebrows just kind of curl, and he looks a little, I don't know, put at dis-ease by what you just said.
What's the matter with you?
Huh? Oh, me, nothing. Just working up, just waking up.
You look disturbed by what I said.
Oh, no, I was probably thinking about something. Nothing too big to worry about.
All right.
Okay. Is there any more interactions or anything like that before we move on to the next scene? I will presume no then. Okay, so just a quick check-in with the cast so that they are aware of what our sort of plan is here. Is each of you, if you can, during this time, think of what you would like to do as your 2 downtime actions, so that once we have done the payoff scene, which is technically part of the downtime phase, but we're actually going to role play our way through it because it's a bit of a negotiation, etc. So that after that we can quickly just move through the rest of the downtime process of each of your 2 actions. So just think about what you'd like to do. If you have one that's going to be an additional roleplay scene, let me know, and then we'll try to do those at the end of the downtime period. Did you have something, Angela? Go ahead.
Can you remind us if we have any clocks that we need to fill?
Yes. Right now, let me just swap to that scene very quickly. Where did there it is. Right now, we have, give me a quick second here.
$1 billion.
Right now, we have only the 1 clock that is needing to be filled, which is Carver's clock of trying to find Connor. I had also been told ahead of time what one of Martin's downtimes planned to be, and so you can see that just below that one, which is Martin's healing clock, because he had already let me know that one of his actions will be that, so I'd already prepared that clock for him. And those are the only active clocks going on currently, because we had already finished Doug's clock a few games ago, and no new clocks have been created. Other than the clocks that were going on during the adventure, etc. So there is no
get to work on that one.
Yeah, there's no long-term clocks going on right now. Okay, so with that, we will move time forward. It is now the afternoon. Mercy has guided you, and you've checked through the cargo. You've taken inventory. You know that it's definitely not like a small amount, right? Obviously, this money and its currency is a very esoteric system. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and give, even though they wouldn't say this, and I want to remind everyone, especially the audience, that they wouldn't say coin in character, right? That's not a term that they would use. I mean, they would say coin in the sense of talking about currency, but they wouldn't say the word coin like we're going to be using. However, I will say, though, that we will put things in a coin value to make it easier for the crew out of character to understand the amount of value that we are discussing. Because I could say, bags and bags of silver, but there's not a clear and defined amount of exactly how much silver when it comes to this game and its currency system. It's very esoteric, and they use the term coin as a sort of floating currency to be able to be used for different things. So I will be using that term just to let you know. Sorry to be very meta with it, but it's the clearest and most concise way to be able to discuss terms with the players. So with that, you have followed Mercy, not to the same warehouse you had once visited. In fact, to a completely different section of Crowsfoot. And it is a building that is not a warehouse. It is a random building that you wouldn't have even noticed was there, because you're not even, when you're on the street moving through, you don't even see the place that Mercy takes you. Mercy literally like walks around a corner, motions you down an alleyway, you go down an alleyway, and then eventually find yourself at like sort of a back space, and then in a sense, sort of a garage door basically opens up on old wires. The rope is pulled down, or a chain is pulled down, and then it lifts up slowly. And Mercy directs you to guide the wagon inside.
I push it inside.
Yeah. As I had said, it's an old building, mostly made of brick. It is raining, but the canvas tarp has kept the goods safe. You didn't notice anyone tailing you or anything like that. You made sure to take your time getting across. You probably left a little early just in case, so you could make sure no one was tailing you or anything like that. Other than that, you're all presumably dressed for the rain. As I've said before, anytime you're going out and interacting, I presume you have brought at least a light load, unless you wanted to bring an increased load, but because this isn't a mission, I presume you probably wouldn't need it. But a light load provides you with a way to have your knife or your sword or something should something random happen, right? And so the big sort of door opens, you move the wagon inside, out of the rain, dusting the rain, the loosed droplets on your rain jackets and hats, dusting them off of you. You step inside, your feet are leaving little puddles on the ground. And this warehouse, by the way, is vast, in the sense that it is completely empty at this point. It is just you, the wagon, an empty warehouse. There are doors down off on the far side, and it is just the 5 of you, including Mercy, who is now inside the wagon. After you've all gotten inside, Mercy unfurls the chain the other way, and the door shuts behind you.
Hop on out, start taking the tarp off of the,
Okay.
I'll get out and help him.
Yeah.
Okay. So you start unloading the cargo, basically.
Yeah.
Sure. After you've done that for a little bit, you hear the door on the far end open, as though someone, after a minute or so, reacted to the sound of these large, doors, panels opening up to the sound of creaky old metal on metal. The door opens, and you see Malone LaRoche and Madame Rowan come walking through the door, of course, with their door guard that they've had before, who comes walking with them across the space to basically more or less the center of the room, to where they're not advancing on you or seeming aggressive or anything like that, as you're finishing up the unloading process. They sit there quietly until you finish and give you time to take a breath. And then once it seems like you've finished and you've had a moment to breathe, they slowly sort of walk forward. Madame Rowan stopping, and then Malone approaching and saying, do you need a few more moments, or would you be fine to speak now?
No, I think we're ready to speak now. We've made a decision.
Perfect. Please. And with that, the other man goes off and basically pulls out a couple of chairs. Actually, 2 chairs. He pulls out one and sets it in front of Madame Rowan. She sits down, and he sets down another chair on the other side, basically facing the chair. These chairs do not mean that only one of you may speak for you. It is a symbolic gesture in the way of it deals the closing of such things. And so, so if someone says, have you sat and discussed terms, it is our custom. But you are all welcome to speak. From what I understand, you do not have a specific leader, shall we say. And so because of that, we understand that we do not expect you to be moving between the chair in order to speak or anything of that variety. But, yes.
Reaper will take a very confident and poised stride to the chair and take a seat.
Okay. Sits down.
Blinder will, kind of take a half step aside, kind of facing away from them, and look over at Carver and be like, get behind her, get your ass over there.
Okay. Kind of motion everybody.
Carver will just he'll kind of roll his eyes for a second and then just walk over there casually.
Okay.
And Martin will still be. Martin basically is staying by the cart and the boxes of shit.
Sure. You're not that far, really. You're really only like 10, 15 feet.
Yeah, no,
it
that's
seemed
fine.
like when Malone said, shall we, it was more of a symbolic gesture than it was actually a specific, please come to the other side of the room or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's just staying there waiting to hear the word to keep unloading boxes.
Oh, you've already finished at this point. They waited until you guys were done before they approached you.
Well, then I go and stand behind Reaper on her right side.
Okay. So the three of you are standing back there, like a sweet band pick or something like that.
Like the Vanilla Ice crew.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. Blinders in the background, just just jamming. Malone just looks over at Rowan. I don't know. It must be a custom of theirs.
Begin every negotiation with a dance.
Yeah.
Makes it go by so much smoother.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, I presume you don't do that, but if you do, that's up to you. That's your choice.
No.
We have had enough of your customs. Now you will sample ours.
Exactly.
I'll start reciting that song. It'll make me.
Yeah. Okay. So Reaper sits down. The three of you step behind her. Mercy is standing off in between you, but away from both of the groups as sort of this symbolic not involved in this affair sort of thing. Madame Rowan sits down, but Malone LaRoche is the one who speaks, as he does, as her sort of mouthpiece. She starts to sign. As I've described before, she signs. And she signs, and then he turns to you and says, congratulations on the job well done, says the madam.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
She continues signing. And then Malone. The madame has presumed that because the boxes are here, you have decided to sell them back to us. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Excellent. At this point, it seems more praise is in order. The madam would like to thank you for finishing this task so expediently, as well as upholding the side that had been mentioned of making sure the red sashes had not been involved. I am to make sure that whatever price you ask for, there is a bonus placed on top of it in order to sweeten the pot for a job well done in this way. But with that, we will move to price. I'm unsure if you are familiar in the pricing of such vessels, and if you would wish to offer terms, shall we say.
You throw a number our way and we'll negotiate from there.
I see. Madame Rowan motions, signing, and then he says, the madam would like to offer you a strong box of silver, basically 4 coin.
I believe the madam is these are certainly worth more than that.
Oh, I see.
Yes, sorry.
What do you feel that they are worth?
I'll look over at Blinder and be like,
Oh, yes. Well, accounting for the fact that, because of, assisting you in the manner that we did,
Yes.
by further complicating the lamp black's situation by blaming it on the gondoliers,
Yes.
we are unfortunately forced to sell them to you in order to keep your aims for the mission appropriate. Because if we sold them somewhere else, then people would be like, well, why didn't they did, but, you know, et cetera, et cetera. In addition, so I think 6 plus the 8, or plus 2, sorry, to make 8. Yes.
For
Eight.
simply just the vessels, you say? You wish for two, roughly 1.5 strong boxes of silver? This is what you ask? For just the vessels?
yes, just the vessels.
That would be a bit outside of their value, I would note.
Look, I'm not going to mince words here, and I would definitely trust in what you say. And not that I don't trust you, but I've seen what those vessels contain, and I've seen what they can do.
Sure.
They're valuable.
Yes, but are all of them filled? Some are empty, yes?
I'll look at Blinder.
3 was the. It was 3 that were unfilled, right?
No, it was roughly two, like almost half was empty.
Oh.
Yeah, like a third to half of them. That's what I've been trying to describe, was that, like,
I heard 3.
I mean, there's still a bunch of them, right? Like, there's still a whole bunch of vessels, but the roughly a little less than half were not sealed, and but they're still in good condition, so they still can be used, right? They're just not filled with spirits, right?
Maybe a little. One moment, please. For my.
Time to deliberate, of course.
Then
he looks at the other person, and they say something in Aruvian, and then the man walks off.
I'll whisper to her.
Yes,
What did they say?
He said, fetch the refreshments.
Okay. What did you say, Blinder?
Blinder will correct how many things are actually filled and how many aren't.
Half are filled, and
So
we're
you-
already receiving 2.
Half
Was
are
it
filled.
2 coin for the job, and then they were offering another 4 for the boxes?
No, they were offering 4 coin for the vessels.
Yeah.
So let's do.
You just said the same thing, by the way. I'm just pointing that out. You just said it in different orders. Like, yes, you both said the same thing, and you are both correct. Is that they are offering you, just to clarify real quick, they're offering you 4 coin for the vessels, and they had originally agreed to 2 coin, roughly, for the job. And 2 coin being several full purses of silver is the actual silver value of that. Whereas 4 coin is, as I said, a strong box, like a large chest filled with silver, basically. Strong box of silver.
So we
How-
stand between the 4 of us total to gain 6 coin.
Yes. I'll look at him.
Which is almost, so that you're aware and you can visualize it, is almost 2 full, like, think like pirate chests almost kind of size, filled with silver. It's quite a bit. It's a
Honestly,
2
I don't think that we should tax our new allies beyond this.
I believe
going-
we should exactly do that. Because
I'm going for 6.
You're
Go
gonna
ahead,
try
sorry.
and push. You're gonna try and push it for 6 for the boxes.
Yep.
Do you need me
Or-
to look extra intimidating?
No.
perhaps 2 additional coin for the manner in which we completed the job, because not only did we complete the job, destroy the warehouse, steal the things which we are now selling back to them, which we cannot sell anywhere else, but we don't have to point that out. But we also made their enemies in a far greater worse position by turning one of their allies against them.
Okay, I'll come back. Sit down.
By this point, we'll say, you were discussing things. By this point, the other person has returned, and set between you on a sort of like side table, one of those like pull-out tables sort of thing, like a little pull-out thing, is a tray with like little refreshments, so like seems like there's a hot kettle there, there's little bites of cheese, there's some little crackers, some a little dried meats or something like that, that smells somewhat peppery or something like that. Seems very nice. And at this point, Madame Rowan is being served a cup of steeping hot tea from the other person, the other nameless person whose name was never given to you.
Thank you for the refreshments. I think we've landed on a number, seeing as a third to half of the vessels are empty. 6 coin for the job, including the expediency, including the fact that we destroyed the warehouse and we made enemies out of allies.
She signs. After thinking for a long moment, she signs something. So, may I ask then, just to clarify, you have included things that were included in the job requirements in what you have said has added to the price of the crates. The madam wishes to know, you are asking for 6 coin for the crates, and then you are expecting job payment on top of this? Even though you have included the requirements of the job in the crate's price. We are confused. Perhaps our Aquarosian is not quite clear.
Blinder, go ahead.
We were including 4 for the crates.
I see.
And 4 for the job, because it was 2 additional for adding the additional. We tacked on making the gondoliers their enemy now instead of their ally.
Yes.
Hence, much furthering the complications that they will have in addition to their warehouse being destroyed and their shipments being stolen.
Yes. So you have 4 coin, the madam says, is an agreeable amount for the boxes. She will agree to this. And you are asking for another 4 coin for the job itself? I presume then that the initial price we had told you of 2 coin, strong boxes worth of silver, is presumed to be the normal payment of the job. And then the bonus that we discussed is the additional 2, I presume. Yes?
Correct.
And we did all that not knowing a whole lot of information about where it was or what we were collecting and how dangerous it is.
That is the matter of the work you do, my friend.
I understand that.
Money is not added for such things. You knew what you were getting into. But I understand your point. Madame Rowan takes a moment. Malone keeps looking at her, but she hasn't signed anything. She seems to be thinking deeply. Looking at all of you, her eyes fall on each one of you for a moment. She's sort of thinking hard. She nods, and with that he says, "It is a deal."
All right.
She stands up and reaches out her hand in like a handshake to whoever was sitting in the chair, which I presume is Reaper again.
Yeah.
She will very firmly and confidently shake her hand.
You realize, being as strong as you are, that Madame Rowan has a very firm grip herself. It is obvious that she is very athletic as well, and her hands are very strong. You presume, having some knowledge about the sort of training that sword fighters do, you presume it's because of that. Shake hands. She nods to you as you shake hands. Once you finish shaking hands, she nods to each of you individually. And then with that, she holds up one finger and then turns and walks out. And the guard that was with her walks with her. And Malone bows very deeply to her as she walks out. And he says, "Yes, we are finished with such things. Let us get you your payment. It will just be a few moments. It seems you already have a wagon here to transport it and a good tarp to cover it up. So should be easy work." A few minutes go by, and then eventually a few other guards that you hadn't seen before, dressed in the same variety, swords at their hips, fine clothes, etc., who don't introduce themselves or anything. They just seem hurriedly at work. Come walking in, carrying one on each side these strong boxes. They set down 2 of these very large strong boxes, just big, and they have big locks on them. Set them down in front of you, basically at the foot of the wagon, and then immediately walk away. Malone stands there the whole time until you've received your goods. He is handed a key as they go walking past. He gestures that key over to whoever's nearby him.
I'd say
Martin will
Martin.
snag it.
Yeah, Martin's probably closest.
Yeah, Martin will snag the key.
Inspect your payment.
Opens it up. Looks. Does it just
Digs through. It is a full strong box of silver. 2
cool.
strong boxes.
Well, he does the first one, then kind of hefts it,
Mhm.
and then just hefts the second one.
It's about the same weight.
They weigh about the same. I trust you.
For my own sake, I would ask that you open the second, please.
Okay. Opens it up.
Formalities being what they are.
Understandable. Yeah. Seems to be all here.
You have in good faith received your payment. We now, in good faith, will take our goods.
Absolutely.
And as soon as you nod him, those men come back over and start moving the boxes, basically. And they're setting them over at a nearby another door. And as it's going on, you see another person that the door opens, and then another wagon comes in. And then as a team is moving them over there, another team of 2 comes in and starts loading all the boxes, basically, up into the wagon.
Where is Malone at this point?
He's still standing there. I mean, he's like sort
Okay.
of he's standing nearby, but once they start loading the boxes, he looks to you all and sort of nods his head. Do you seem like you want to speak to him or something?
No, I'm waiting for him to leave.
Oh, I see. He does not leave. He waits until all of the boxes are moved over to the wagon. And then he moves over to the wagon, standing there. He waits till all the boxes are loaded onto the wagon. The tarp is placed down, it's tied, and the wagon goes out the door. And then he walks, he turns to you all, nods, and then walks out. And then at that point, there's not to say scurry of feet, but at that point, all of the people who were there with you leave. And it is go ahead.
As soon as they leave, I'm going to turn around and look at the rest of y'all and be like, holy shit, we did it.
Yes. Yeah. Fucking right on, we did it.
I think Blinder needs to talk from now on.
Absolutely not. That is the only because I have some expertise in this, minor expertise, mind you, but in this matter, if they try to highball us.
Hey, any contribution is good. We'll take what we can get.
I believe between you 3, you have all of the necessary attributes to bargain. I just was merely pointing out that we were doing we did something that was in addition to their request.
I was floundering, so maybe you should be talking.
So I
I'm just kidding.
just believe next time if we sort out what's going on when they try to confuse you, we should go in with a much firmer idea about what we expect.
That's why I was asking how much were we going to ask for the crates. Because if you have a number that you're going for, you can get that number.
Mercy, you hadn't noticed her. As soon as Madame Rowan walked off, you noticed that Mercy sort of disappeared out of your vision. And then you see Mercy come back in. You're realizing it now at this point as you're conversing. You see Mercy come back in one of the back doors. Like from the same direction you saw Madame Rowan leave.
Give Mercy a wave. Hey!
She waves and it continues walking towards you.
Okay.
As she's walking towards you, what are you all doing?
We're discussing.
This is not a safe place. Get your shit. Let's get out of here.
Oh. Cover.
And presumably you guys can still converse while you're leaving.
Yeah.
It's just Mercy at this point, like obviously having finished whatever was going on between her and Rowan or whatever, comes back and you know she can see that they're surprised.
All right. Yeah. Pack up pack up the crates. Cover them with the tarp that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And we take off again.
And
pulling the.
No shit. 5 minutes after you leave, after you're on the road, your strong boxes are stowed away in the wagon in a way they don't draw attention. You know, kind of like you covered them with the canvas and you dug them down inside underneath some stuff to make it look like it's maybe an empty wagon. You're taking a worker. Maybe one of you is the cabbie and the rest of you are like the passengers or something like that.
Right.
As you're going down the road and you can see the turn that you were at in the distance, you see blue coats march up out of an alleyway and then immediately go down into that alleyway you were in.
Well, thank you, Mercy. You're saving my bacon again.
No, that's just...
Hey, speaking of bacon, we can go buy bacon now.
We can go buy bacon.
You could, yeah.
Buy a whole
So much bacon.
Just be careful how quickly you spend all of this. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I was just gonna buy bacon.
Sure. I mean, that's fine.
I think we should actually invest it into our new enterprise.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Another thing that I wanted to put on the order of business for today is potentially going and checking in on Aldo.
Definitely. We should probably do that as soon as we figure out what we're gonna do with this money.
Well, let's see. There's roughly about, let's see. We take it in half, and we put half of it toward finding whatever, and then split up the rest between us.
I might have a place where we could stash this.
Oh yeah.
It's not
think it might-
incredibly safe, but
Yeah, I
it
think
would
it'd
be. It would be safer than keeping it in the immediate vicinity.
Until we could find a more secure location, I would absolutely, yes.
For the time being, though, until you guys find a place that you want to, as you said, invest in, you're welcome to use the boat. I would suggest finding a place that's your own, that you all have some investment in, is probably a good step. But for the time being, know that you're more than capable of staying on the boat, for a time until you, in a sense, get on your feet, right? There's just history and ties, and obviously there's that fear that with the boat being tied to the sashes potentially, that they will presume that you're attached to the sashes, and then if, who knows, that sort of thing, right?
We have a great deal to discuss, but I think we should, for right now, figure out a place for the money to be secured outside of anybody's purview, or that we all know, and then we should maybe take a moment. We've been running a quite furtive pace recently.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that we take a day.
Yes.
At least.
And then we should, when we convene again, we can decide our next course of action.
Sure. So I'm going to presume that because you don't have a direct place you can hide it right now, that you're at least for now taking the strong boxes back to the boat. Yes?
Yes. That'll work just fine.
Of course, the scene that we had done towards the beginning of this video, at the very beginning of our episode tonight, was the payoff period. We wanted to actually go through a bit of the role play, especially because this was their first official payoff as a unofficial crew. And so now that we've done that, we are going to move into the actual mechanical aspect of the downtimes. Just very quickly, all of our players have planned out, I'd hope to the best of their ability, what actions they would like to do, and we are going to sort of swiftly move through them. And then continue on with our game here. So I'm going to say that this downtime phase, so that you all are aware, because you talked about taking the next day off. I'm going to presume then, based on that time period, that these downtime actions will be done over the next day. Like, you basically, have the full rest of the day that you had, which is you had met with the Red Sashes in the afternoon. You take the rest of the evening. You take the entire next day off. And then when we return to the game, it'll either be that night or the next morning. So you have basically a day and a half for which to have acted upon your downtime. So with that, if they are ready, we will start with Reaper. Reaper, what are the downtimes that you would like to do?
I didn't have anything in mind. I couldn't think of anything. I don't think I'm working on anything currently, so I will pass.
Oh, do you actually... Oh, you did have a downtime, not to say a downtime left over in a sense, but you did have a downtime period that you had worked on the last time we had our official downtimes. Would you like to continue on that long-term project? Because I can pull up my notes here really quick and remind you of what it was that we had discussed last time.
Yes, please, because I forgot.
Yes. The thing that we had discussed last time we had a downtime period was that you had... Where is it? You had sought out a revolutionary movement or group. You, through your entire downtime, 2 actions, you were able to find them. You had found the Skovlander Rights movement, and so you've sort of located, in a sense, not only who they are, but sort of where they meet. And I believe you had said at the time that you wished to reach out to a group like that, but you were unable to do so with your downtime actions last time. So if you don't have an idea of what you'd like to do, if you want to, you could have that be part of your downtime actions, that you're basically... we don't have to go into it too much, though I do eventually want to do a scene with that, because I feel like it's an important part of your character. So maybe we'll pause and we'll do that like as a full scene at some point, and we'll go a little more detail into that during either a later episode or a special maybe vignette or something like that we'll add to the YouTube. Unless you feel like it's incredibly important to your current story and you'd really want to dive into it right now. That's completely up to you.
No, we're good. We can do this at a later time, because it'll get me better prepared and better focused.
Just because you have an idea of what you want to do, but you're not exactly sure of all the little details and things. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start another clock. Sorry, I dropped my pencil. Sorry about that. We'll start another clock, and that clock will represent that you are, sort of shaking hands with people. You've gone to a few of the movements, a few of the meetings and things, and the clock will represent that you've sort of ingratiated yourself with enough of the people that they know you, and you're able to form a relationship with them. Does that sound like a good sort of long-term project that you're working at? You're sort of building relationships. You're meeting and greeting, that sort of thing, so that you can sort of suss out who's really, because you don't really know who's in charge or anything like that. You just know about this group, right? So we can create that clock and then have that be a long-term project, and then go ahead and roll then for your downtime for that. I would also like to point out you could do one action for that. You could also do a training action if you'd like. You also have spent a lot of stress, so you could always indulge your vice to get some of your stress back. And you have conditions that you've suffered. So you could always use your second action to start a healing clock to get rid of those conditions. So there's lots of things that you could do. So with that, you wanted to spend one of your actions, Reaper, shaking hands with the Skovlander Rights movement. And then do you want to, as I said, do you want to potentially heal or indulge your vice to get your stress back or something like that? Because until you indulge your vice, you're not going to regain any stress. And until you start a healing clock, you're going to keep adding conditions. They don't go away. They just keep adding on until you actually spend time healing and dealing with them, basically.
I do want to spend time with my vice.
Okay, so you'd like to indulge your vice?
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
Okay. And if you would like to, please describe what your character's vice is, as well as your vice purveyor, and we can go into a little bit of that. Because this is the first time that Reaper has indulged their vice on stream, so.
My vice is obligation.
Oh, right, okay. So I can think of a very easy solution to that as to what the scene would be, is that because your vice is obligation, we will say that during that day and a half off time that you have, that you specifically go and spend a bunch of time with Aldo. You at some point sneak over to the fighting pits and check in to make sure Henna's doing okay. And Henna seems to be doing fine. You know, she's basically... The moment that you do see her, she seems to have whipped some of the fighters into gear and like doesn't deal with any of their bullshit. We'll even say that Marlene points out there, like, I should have brought Henna around here sooner, kind of a thing, because Henna does not deal with their bullshit and make sure that the fighters are keeping their spaces clean and eating right and doing all these sorts of things. So we will say that for your obligation. And now go ahead and roll a single dice. Or actually, sorry, it's whatever your lowest resistance roll is that has dice associated with it.
Resistance. It's only 1, and I got a 2.
A 2. Okay. So you will reduce your stress that you've taken by 2. You do not overindulge, but you still have whatever remaining stress is still been spent. So like how much stress did you spend previously?
5.
Okay, so you will regain 2 of that 5, so you only have 3 spent, but you do not overindulge.
I'm sorry, I gained 2 back from that 5?
Yes, because the way it works is you basically regain a number of stress equal to the die roll, but if your die roll is ever higher than the amount of stress you suffered, that's when you overindulge. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you've done both of your things. Oh, did you go ahead and roll for your Skovlander Rights thing? Feel free to roll whatever skill you feel would be appropriate.
I rolled hunt.
Okay.
But I rolled a 1 on that one.
Okay, so that means that the box will fill up by a small amount. So it will fill up by 1 segment in your 4-part clock that I have created for you. And very quickly, since we are in the downtime phase, I will just pop this up here because clocks are an important part of the downtime phase. So we will pop open the clocks. You can see it there down beneath you. Right there, Reaper, Skovlander Rights, and of course Martin's Healing Clock, unless he planned to change that. Finding Connor is still on there for Xylus or Carver. And so with that, I will now move on to, we'll We'll just go to. I have you actually out of order. I realized on the clocks thing. That's totally okay. We'll just go to whoever's next on the clocks page, which is Blinder or Doug. Doug, why don't you go ahead? What would you like to do for your downtimes?
Okay, I'll Blinder is going to go to Silk Shore.
Okay.
And to the Red Lamp District to
Okay.
visit Mrs. Valderez.
Okay.
And
His vice purveyor.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And he is going to lose himself
Mm-hmm.
in an opium-induced
Mm-hmm.
drug haze.
Yes. So. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was, and then during that drug haze,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how much I roll, he is going to go and start a project. I guess would be probably the most important thing because
Okay.
he's going to go and research or
Okay.
find somewhere where he could take his notes, from Carver's sleepwalking episodes,
Yes.
and he is going to attempt to find out more about them completely out of his mind, and try to bring that back.
Okay. Just a quick reminder for people. So when Blinder goes, he goes. So Silk Shore is a district of town, as Doug had said, Blinder, that is like the Red Lamp District or the Red Light District, like you might have heard of stories in Amsterdam. It is a place of vice. It is a place of casinos and ongoing parties and people drinking in the streets and opium dens and gambling and secret fighting pits and all sorts of things. Any vice that you can imagine, whether it be a pleasure house or a drug house, exists here. But there are varying levels of nice places, like the very, very nice casinos that you might see, like the Silver Stag Casino, for example, and the place that Blinder chooses to go to engage in his vice. Blinder finds himself, if I remember correctly, at a very seedy-looking sort of backstreet alley space. There isn't even a sign outside. It's more like a flop house, hostel sort of place.
Yeah, it's like you imagine if you've ever seen the movie From Hell with Johnny Depp.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of like one of those like back alley opium parlors.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like really seedy and really very dive-esque. And, he knocks on the door, the slide opens, someone like filled with paranoia, etc. from the drugs they're on is like, who are you? And they let him in. He pays the price of silver in order to engage in his vice and then simply disappears into his opiate haze. I will say this, though. So I'm not going to tell you right now what happens in your second roll because you're so far gone. But
that's completely fine.
Okay. But what I will say is that I would like you to roll to see how successful you are. And I'm going to create a new clock for you. I'm going to create an 8-segment clock for this for these notes.
Just do me a favor, and if you roll really well for me on the fortune roll or whatever it is you're gonna roll,
yeah,
you're just gonna wink at me and go, "We can't stop here. This is backcountry." Just do that.
I plan to implement what had happened into the game at some point, and you will know. But for now, it's going to be a night of haze and darkness, and Blinder will find himself awake the next day on the dock. Not in the boat, but on the dock, sprawled out across a few boxes. Nearby the ship, like a short ways away, and probably whoever was out there, like we'll say Reaper or smoking or something like that, looks out and sees Blinder laying sprawled across the boxes, drool coming out of his mouth down into his facial hair and beard. His clothes are dirty and ragged and kind of wet at the bottom, like it looks like some mud is on his shoes and on the bottom of his legs. He's got little cuts and bruises on his face. It looks like at one point his nose was bloodied or something, and then he's just out. He's laying there like, oh, and then you...
Because I just looked this up a couple seconds ago because I was like, oh, a roll, I don't know. I rolled a 6.
Okay.
I have 4 stress.
Okay.
I overindulge, which means you get to find out what happens to me. or make it.
Oh
up,
wait,
I guess.
wait.
You
So,
can,
so how much stress had you taken?
I have 4 stress.
Oh,
marked.
okay. So you do overindulge.
I overindulge.
Oh, well then it's perfect that you decided to go off into a drug haze.
Yeah,
That's
and do
perfect.
it-
That's exactly what the overindulgence is, and I will not tell you
Fucking
exactly
bender.
what happens. Rather than determining just something randomly, I already had something in mind, so I will simply say that is the shall we say, the outcome of the overindulgence. So that's perfect. So feel free to regain all of your stress, and I will make this clock for you very quickly. This is, what shall we call it? We'll call it the
Blinders bender.
no. I'm talking about the passage of words that you had heard from Carver.
Oh,
The ravings.
ranting. Carver's rantings.
Okay. Oh, it keeps going to that other color there.
Otherwise known as blinders bender.
I will call them Carver's Whispers.
Ooh.
That has double meaning.
It does, yes. Okay. With that, we will now move on to Ryan or the character known as Martin.
Martin's really easy. The night after we get back, he spends time like putting Epsom salt in his hands, pulling out splinters,
Mm-hmm.
really taking care of his hands
Oh, sure.
that have
Okay.
that probably still got pretty good sized chunks of wood sticking in them.
Yeah, probably splinters and things like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely going to be healing. And then after we've taken a night off to recover, we are going to as sneakily as possible, make our way back to Dungeons and Sons to indulge my vice.
Okay. It looks as though the healing factor, from what I'm gathering here, it doesn't say exactly what it is. So I will presume it is a fortune roll. So I will roll that for you real quick. Oh, very nice. I rolled a 6, which is three segments filled. So we will fill 3 segments. If someone finds otherwise that there's a specific roll, or if I'll double check after the game, I just cannot remember exactly what the roll is determined by at this exact moment. But we will fill it 3 segments. That was a really good roll anyways. And so basically, once you get 1 more segment filled, all of your conditions will reduce by 1 level, and you'll be good to go. Well, what is Doug laughing about over there? What's going on, Doug?
Did you not see this? Well, I want to know why Angela has a fly swat.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, I'm not. You got to keep in mind, while I'm running the game here, I've got like 700 screens open, and I'm moving between them and everything like that. So
There is a fucking fly the size of my hand in this garage. It's gonna
Holy-
die tonight.
I know that Doug, at one point, when him and I were very late one night on Discord chatting, he was like, "What the F?" And then he freaked out and he took a picture, and there was this massive, like, I think it was a wolf spider or something like that, sitting right now down near the outlet right next to his desk. And he like took a picture, and the thing is like creeping out from between the outlet and the table. It was gnarly looking. Okay, just a quick reminder.
Very nice.
Blinder, what was the roll you got on the studying bit?
I did not roll for the studying bit.
Oh, okay.
Or you mean like the second?
Because you did a vice roll, and then you said you wanted to study or find someone to help you study the text. Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to do a roll for that to determine how many spaces the clock fills up.
6.
Nice, 3 segments.
I'm on a fucking roll tonight, man.
Killing it, dude. You only got at this point 5 seconds left? Yep, 5 segments. You'll fold up that 8 segment clock. Okay, cool. So sorry about that. Returning to Martin. So Martin healed for one of his actions, and what was your second action, Martin?
To make my way back sneakily to Dungeons and Sons
Okay,
to indulge my vice.
perfect. So go ahead and do your vice roll, your lowest resistance trait, and whatever that might be in dice.
I got a 4.
A 4. Okay, so how much stress did you have?
10.
Oh, damn. Yeah, so reduce that by 4. You're back down to 6 stress now.
I'm a stressed individual, man.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me.
Okay. So with that, but just a quick explanation for those of you that may be watching for the first time. When Martin indulges in his vice, he goes to a wonderful tailor shop called Dundridge and Sons, which is a very, very fine tailoring shop based out of its home branches out of the night market. So he goes to this place. He speaks to the person behind the counter, a cousin of Dundridge Senior, which is one of basically the owner and proprietor, and they have a nice conversation, catching back up because they haven't seen each other in a few days or whatever. And then he ends up buying himself like a nice new suit, or maybe a nice new jacket or whatever the case may be. Now that he's got weighted pockets filled with silver, he's able to buy basically whatever he wishes to buy at this point.
Right. We are definitely springing for a couple of really soft undershirts.
Oh sure, yeah.
Things that just glide across my skin.
Oh, perfect. Very nice Eruvian silk shirts or something of that variety.
Oh yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Well, I'm more looking for like the actual shirt, not like the overshirt, because that's gonna get wet and muddy and.
Oh, you're talking about like shirts you would wear underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Just get a few of those so they're nice and soft, so I can have that on my skin rather than wool.
Sure. Okay, perfect. So you end up doing that. And now we will move on to Carver. Carver, what are you planning to do for your 2 downtime scenes?
Carver is trying to find Connor.
Okay.
So he'll use Hunt.
Okay.
Six and a 1.
Okay, so that will fill the clock by 3 segments. Only 1 segment left, my friend.
I will attempt to indulge my vice.
Okay.
I will take the necklace and try to use it to listen in on the voices.
Okay, so you're doing like some sort of experiment with it, basically trying to understand better. Okay, perfect. Yep. So go ahead and roll your lowest resistance trait.
It's a 5 and a 1.
Okay, so that is a 5. So you will reduce however much stress you've taken, which is how much?
I'm full.
You're full at what, 10 is it?
I think it's actually 9. Yeah, it's 9.
Okay. So you will reduce that by 5. So you're down to 4 stress used now.
Cool.
So during the time that you spend studying it, you realize that there are moments where out of the corner of your eye, you catch little darkened silhouettes. Like almost like you see something moving out of the corner of your eye and you go to look and there's nothing there. There is a faint, almost energy that you feel. Kind of like when you're wearing, like, we'll say, like wool socks or something, and you like rub your feet on the carpet and you get that sort of static charge. You start to feel that very, very gently in your fingertips. And at one point while you're holding the necklace, you end up like setting it down and it shocks between the necklace and your finger. And when that shock happens, there's this flash of sound and a sensation visually of like a darkened space, like the almost like the room surrounding you sort of goes dark for a second, like the lights flicker. There's a audio sensation, like you hear someone screaming, but softly and far away. And you feel this cold breeze, just very brisk though, that it just sort of hits you all at once. Like it goes from being the room's normal temperature all of a sudden cold, just surrounding you. And it stays there for a minute until you reach your hand further away from the necklace and kind of wait. And then there's nothing left. I mean, Nothing continues at that point. Okay. So with that, we have now finished our downtime. So we will be returning to what is known in this game as the free play period. I believe you have something on your mind, my friend?
I do. I was
Okay.
saying since we split up the coin, can we mark coin on our sheet?
Yes. Are you guys? What was the plan for splitting up the coin? Was everybody taking 2, or was the plan to do 4 coin in the pot and everybody takes 1? What was the plan?
I was thinking 4 in the pot, and then 1 to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I think too.
Okay. Sure.
I think we're on
Okay.
the same page.
All right. No, I don't mind being the treasurer. Math is good
So
for
we'll
me.
basically say that you leave the coin, the 4 coin worth, in the strong box. We'll say that.
Yeah.
And then because there was 2 strong boxes, and then in the other strong box you split it up amongst yourselves, each taking a coin basically. Which, to remind you of the amount that a coin that a coin is, a 2 coin is several full purses, which are sacks of silver. So think about that. You've got a relatively decent size purse filled with silver is basically what your personal payout was outside of the group fund, we'll call it.
Right.
The cash, as it would be.
Right.
Okay, so with that, now that we finished downtimes, now that people have determined how the money's being split up, we will return to free play. It is now a day and a half later. All of you have engaged in your varied activities that you had done over the last day. It is the end of the day and a half, is the morning that I talked about that Reaper finds Blinder as she goes out to smoke early in the morning. She finds Blinder there a day and a half later, laying on the dock. We can start there if you guys like to. Completely up to you. Unless people wanted it to be that evening, I presume the next morning sort of made the most sense.
I'd be happy having this scene.
I am.
Well, it's going to happen either way. Whether it's at nighttime she finds him or it's in the morning she finds him. I just didn't know if there was a preference in the cast as to what time of the day you wanted it to be, basically.
Let's do morning.
Okay.
And Reaper's gonna be cooking a shit ton of bacon.
Sure. Sure. Perfect. So
well,
Reaper
Martin has brought a large bowl of fruit for breakfast as well.
Sure. Refreshing the fruit because at this point it's starting to go bad.
Yeah, just a little.
Beautiful. So it is that morning. Blinder is asleep on the dock. Reaper is out smoking. Martin has returned with fresh produce. Carver
will pop out at about that time with a tobacco pipe.
Oh, okay.
And he'll look out like, you think we should bug him? Bring him in?
Finishes the apple core, hucks it at Blinder.
We'll say it hits him right in his boot.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hurt it. Just, hey.
Oh, never mind. He's comfortable.
I'll go get him.
The position he's laying in across the boxes does not look comfortable at all. Like, the boxes aren't perfectly flat. Like, they're askewed. And he's not even laying the way where his body's, laying down the askew. He's laying the opposite direction. So his head's on the lower spot. His legs are, kind of going up across this bump.
Right. And Martin will go down and either help Blinder walk, or if he can't walk, just huck him over his shoulder and, pretty much fireman carry him into the boat.
Blinder's just he's conscious. You just don't know if he's cognizant of what's going on, really. It's
right. So definitely over the shoulder. Walking his ass into the boat. Sets him down in the living room, in the galley. And
a quick question for Blinder. The stone tablet bit that you had found inside the cases, where have you left that? Did you have that on your person?
He probably would have. Yeah, he probably would have had it on his person. He didn't
Okay.
really spend too much time at the boat.
Okay. Just checking.
He basically once you sit him down, he's sickly pale. He definitely looks like he's dehydrated heavily. And he's just the tea.
Tea. I got you. He wants tea. I go over and start making some tea. Squeeze a couple of the fruits I got to make a little bit of fruit juice. Put it down in front of Blinder, and say, "Drink that. It'll make you feel better."
He looks at the fruit juice, and he's like, goes to one of the portholes, opens it up, and he's just hear him retching, like dry heaving mostly. Then he'll come back a couple seconds later and sit down and be like, push it away, and wait for the tea.
Really? Uppity like that? All right. Should be a good morning for me. Kind of just slams the fruit juice, sets it down. After the kettle gets done, walks over, pours him a cup. 1 lump or 2?
2.
Then
2.
Then in somewhat rapid succession, right over each of your on your eyebrows, Martin just taps each eyebrow with a finger.
What? I'm perfectly able to. 2.
Yeah, that's what you got. 2. Now, how many lumps of sugar would you like?
2 lumps. Sugar. Please.
Puts the sugar in the tea, kind of stirs it up a little bit. Oh, that looks like a good cup of tea. Starts to raise it to his mouth. Sets it down on the table. Just to be a dick. Just kind of like, There you go.
He'll grab it and shakily raises it. How was your night?
Not as good as yours, apparently.
Mine was... I don't know.
Yeah, you woke up outside. You didn't even make it into the boat.
Bacon. I smell bacon.
Well, that would be Reaper's doing.
Are you guys in the kitchen now?
Oh, yeah, we're in the galley. Yeah.
Okay, I will grab a big plate and put a bunch of bacon on there and hand it over to Blinder without saying anything.
He'll grab some and start food, mouth, eat.
I'll grab a muffin or something like that. I'm assuming we have a butter type substance.
Butter exists.
Okay. Take some butter
and one of the most common one of the most common beasts of burden is the large Occarosian goats that are bred, that are basically like think of like the size of cows and horses.
Right.
They're a specific breed that is raised and bred by what is known as the cabbies, which is sort of a faction in a sense. That would be something that people would know, because generally cabbies tend to use these sorts of goats. So the access to goat milk, quite prevalent. So most milk, if you're talking about milk or cheeses, is most likely, at least in its cheapest form, is probably goat milk or goat cheese or something like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So take some butter, put it on kind of like a muffin or something like that. Sets it down in front of Blinder, and he's like, and Martin just kind of looks him dead in the eye. You're gonna eat that, or I'm gonna make you eat it. Because you need to be in the right mind. I need you waking up.
Grabs the cheese.
No, it's a muffin with some butter on it.
Oh, muffin. Yeah, I'll grab the muffin.
Yeah.
You can't make him eat it. He's gonna throw it up, and then you're gonna clean it up.
I would like him to be a little bit more focused. Get it? Did you get it? Nice. The fly killer has assembled.
As much as I know that this is a out of character moment, I'm gonna say that Reaper probably does something very similar. They're like a fly goes through the ship and the Reaper just smacks it. Blah!
Yep.
Hey, I'm here. My body's not.
We can get you on a regimen if you'd like.
No, I'm fine.
I know a good way to get little skinny boys like you into shape. Look at me. I was at one point pretty skinny.
I would much rather just move on. I'll be collected in a couple moments.
All right.
Once the world stops hurting.
Kind of helps him over to the window again. Oh. Okay.
So at this point, I presume you have eaten breakfast. The majority of you have started your mornings. At this point, is there a specific place your characters are wanting to go, or are you just wishing to continue to engage in the sort of morning conversation that is taking place? Perhaps discussing the future, etc., whatever the case may be.
Well, I had a thought.
Sure.
When should we start looking for places? Or should we start looking for another job right now so that we can afford a better place?
I think first we should come up with a name for our group, because we are going to be known, especially if we're making little marks like we have. Who are they going to say did it? We're the nameless ones.
I mean, we could be the nameless.
I like the nameless.
I don't know, that sounds a little, I don't know, dark and mysterious.
Mercy,
It does sound very
Mercy
mysterious.
immediately is like, that sounds really cheesy. Who would come up with a name like that?
Hey, I came up with a name like that.
Sorry.
Blizzard.
I think
Go ahead.
I think most pertinent name is, well, that is obviously probably important to have deeds associated with with a name, but I think first our most important issue, past finding out the affairs or the state of Mr. Aldo, is to secure our own place.
Okay, so we got one vote for name, we got one vote for place. Where stand you, Carver?
I think a name should be taken care of quicker than a place, so we can kind of take care of a name and a night, can't we?
Well, I mean, we can discuss a name while we're walking around looking for a place. Just as
Right.
long as we're not, shouting it to the rooftops.
I have an idea. I have a really good name, and I want to run it by you guys. It's the best name ever. You guys ready for this?
No.
I'm pretty sure what I know what it is.
Shadowrunners.
Yep.
We run in the shadows. That's a great.
I don't.
I am
that
down.
hurts.
I second and third this. I am that down.
No, I am.
No.
No.
It was second and thirded. You can't argue.
Yeah, I can. Last
I'll
time I
spend
checked this
coin to
forum.
make this happen.
No, but in all seriousness, we need to come up with a good name, a strong name.
Well, I think maybe we should let the name come to us. No, I think a name should come later. A name should be based on the deeds we've done, not on the deeds we want to do.
No, I don't think a name should be on the deeds we've done. I think a name should be what describes us. Right? Because until we have a name, we're not a crew. We're just a few people that got together.
Mercy chimes in at this point. You know, although I get what you're both saying, you do want to be careful about the name coming to you, because if you don't name yourselves fast enough, somebody else will choose a name for you. And that's when you get weird names like the Asses or Door Kickers. Or, I mean, the list goes on of terrible names that do you really want to be known as for the rest of your, shall we say, careers, I guess, here in Duskball?
I suppose, based on a previous interaction with me, Mr. Carver, I would agree with that assessment.
Okay, so what do we want the name to reflect?
That we're sneaky.
Some of us are sneaky. I am not sneaky.
Well, as a group, we're sneaky. I mean, we went in and right under their noses beat people down and did a job.
Very true. So what, like the Sneak Smashers?
We're not toys.
Well, just
I mean, fair.
I'm spitballing here. Well, names aren't my thing. I didn't name myself. I mean, come on.
How about the Risen? We are all seeking to aspire to rise above our dilemmas.
It makes us sound kind of like zombies, too.
Which are awe-inspiring and terrifying.
Agreed.
And no offense, but Blinder over here can rise a ghost.
Yeah, but we don't want anybody to figure that out.
True, but I don't think they will. I just think it's a cool thing that goes along with the name.
There's nothing cool about it.
No, it was scary and terrifying, but it's also scary and terrifying for everyone else.
How about the blue sashes?
Or the blue coats? That's way too similar.
How about the red coats?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like red.
I'm terrible with names. I have no ideas, but I do like the Risen.
I mean, the Risen sounds pretty good, actually. That sound all right with you, Carver?
Honestly, I was just waiting for you guys to come back to it. I figured that one would be the one.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring too.
All right, so we are the Risen.
Should we take individual names like Mr. Yellow, Mr. Pink?
No. I think our own aliases are quite sufficient.
I will become Dr. Suspicious.
Okay, so I
Right.
guess we are the Risen.
Okay, so where does the Risen want to reside?
In a high rise?
I think
I kind of
I
have
think
an
we had established something. Correct me if I'm wrong, Beard, but we had talked about there being an empty butcher shop prior to the game.
Repeat that?
Carver had a butcher's shop.
Yeah, not here in Duskwall, though. At least not at the time. He,
Well, because it seems like there's a little bit of stuff that got kind of tweaked around, I was wondering if I might be able to use my coin to purchase one.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely doable. Is there a specific place you have in mind, like a specific district, we'll say? I mean, I'm not expecting you to understand the idiosyncrasies of the individual places within districts, but was there a district that you perhaps had in mind, and then we can discuss further and go into further detail about where its location might be?
Well, I was looking at Charter Hall. If that makes a difference to anyone.
I'm okay with wherever.
Because, I mean, the Charter Hall is pretty much right in the middle. It's got good access to pretty much everywhere we'd ever want to be.
Charter Hall is not a seedy area of town. Charter Hall is there's lots of eyes there, especially law enforcement, as more aspiring individuals to affluency tend to hire security and bribe
Right.
bluecoats.
Right, but I'm not saying we go there, live there, and work there. I'm saying we go there, live there, and work elsewhere. Hide in plain sight.
I think wherever we live, we should work, because the goal of this is to protect ourselves.
Okay, well then where would you like to work?
If we are to become equal, if we are to use our enterprise for our own protection through, and the reputation of our enterprise to fend off those who would be coming after us, I think we should hide in the one of the darkest places of the city. If we could find seediest places, Crow's Foot, or perhaps Char Hollow.
I have very much issues against Char Hollow. I do not like Char Hollow.
Thank you.
Let's where is it coincident? I will decide. I just think that we should establish ourselves in a place that will be better for our business.
Well, I agree, but I don't feel like going back to Char Hollow anytime soon. Just because going there, trying to do work there, you're going to wind up meeting townsfolk that would rather group together and stomp a mud hole in you rather than...
Quite right. I think I see your point. Where do you suggest, Reaper?
I don't really have a suggestion if Char Hollow is out of the picture. I would vote for staying local and staying in a seedier area, but I don't have.
Well, listen. If the rest of you would like to go to Char Hollow, I will go. If you think that's where a better place to work would be.
Mercy chimes in at this point. I think what you should be asking yourselves is, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish? Because the sort of enterprise you're hoping to accomplish might be best suited to a certain district of town. So maybe perhaps when you start to, say, draw a target around your ideal, shall we say, task of choice, once you kind of know what that is, you might find that certain districts might provide you with those opportunities far easier, right? I know at this point you're sort of taking whatever job you can get, but eventually, if you keep working this way, you'll eventually be given opportunities for jobs, right? And so that's what I'm thinking about, or at least that's what I'm saying, is like, what is your ideal goal of the sort of enterprise you'd want to be? You know, when you hear about certain crews, they have sort of a reputation for the sorts of things that is their thing, that they're good at. I mean, the Red Sashes are known for their ability to fight, to work as mercenaries when needed, or to pass goods, shall we say, illicit goods. The Crow's Foot is known, the Crows are known for similar things, as well as controlling this territory and getting a piece of everything. I mean, the list goes on when you start thinking about these different groups. And so it kind of comes down to, what is your idea about what you would want to be? What do you want your rep to be? Because at that point, you might have already answered the question of where you should be working.
True.
I think that's quite accurate. That's quite astute. Thank you for focusing our conversation.
Yeah, much appreciated.
I didn't want to jump in the
Goes
middle.
up for a high five.
Mercy high fives you back. I mean, this is your guys' endeavor. I've been around, and so I have a bit of perspective, I guess. That's different, right?
Yeah, well, I very much favor doing the type of work we just did. Smash and grab, reclamation specialists.
I think that is correct. That we did do at least a sufficient job. I would much rather be for our own agendas rather than other individuals. Perhaps.
Well, yeah, but that comes after we get a rep.
May I make a proposition?
Always?
There is no place in this city that I have seen that is any good. Everyone here is corrupt. Everyone here exists feeding off of each other. We are on the run because there are individuals out there who are just using their power against us without us. And we have no recourse. We have no allies. We have no friends other than Red Sashes, of course. But even then, we don't know the extent. We don't have friends. We're not even friends with each other. I would much rather die knowing that at least the people around me aren't going to turn on me. May I suggest that we find a place, any place, it does not matter where. We take it for our own. We take it from individuals who do not deserve it. It's the custodianship over that neighborhood. And we say, not here. Not in this neighborhood. Not this square patch of dirt where there'll be any more. We help those individuals who are getting crushed because of the acceptance of the way things are. Or something like that.
You sure
Okay.
you should be doing the speaking?
No.
You had a pretty good speech there.
You really did.
Coming off of a really... I don't even remember what happened last night. It's probably just waking up still.
Well, then you should stay
Or
in that.
I feel like throwing up, actually.
Go outside. Don't throw up in here.
I'll be back.
Okay. Well, I very much tend to agree that that's a good course of action to do. But if we go take a place, how are we going to maintain it?
What do you mean? How are we going to maintain it?
Well, I mean, am I going to go back to my old ways and start debt collecting?
Depends on what jobs we start taking. Sure, we could go debt collecting. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can finish. I just would like a chance to speak when you're done.
Okay. We can do debt collecting. We can do all kinds of jobs. It really is up to us.
So what, are we going to start like a protection racket for wherever we're going?
No, I don't want to extort people.
I could run a butchery.
I could run a garbage collection service.
No, I'm
You do that enough in the pits.
actually quite proficient in butchery.
I don't see why that would be a problem. Sure. Can you start one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Easy. Easy as that.
I think that that's a good idea. What do the rest of you think?
Use a butcher as a front, or
Yeah,
I'm good with that. Now we have to find a good butchery.
Blinder.
I agree.
I demand bacon, though.
There's one thing. How do we enforce this? How do we do this? And my answer to that is through violence.
Yeah, this is my time to shine. I was just waiting to hear the V word. Oh, my day is so much better now.
So I can go and procure us the shop. And then I will start gathering shipments of supplies for the front.
Do you need any help from me?
Maybe some lifting,
All right.
Well, I'll be there. Shit.
carpentry work might be required as well, but after that's done, I think I can manage the shop well. Those of you who are less inclined might go keep your ears to the ground for new jobs.
Okay. I like it.
I say wherever we establish our butchery, we find the a capable people that are directly an impasse to our initial growth, and
We'll
strike at them.
Right, so go. Okay. So find out whoever's there, and then beat the shit out of them.
Yes.
Okay. This is becoming more and more my day. This is becoming more and more a good day for me. Oh. And you can actually see there's a little bit of excitement, and he's kind of bouncing up and down in his chair a little.
I think yes. We if we move into a territory, anywhere we move, as soon as we start operating, somebody's going to attempt to subjugate us. Everybody works for somebody else in the city. If we are to even partially try to do whatever crazed thing I was just saying a moment ago, we will need to establish that we can't just be pushed around.
Well, I got us covered when that comes around.
Very
Well, it depends on how many people they bring. Or if they bring guns.
We could also take what they have, and that will help us in our recruitment efforts.
Or we could just walk in and say that they work for us now. And I beat the hell out of whoever says no.
I like that idea.
All right then.
Do you need a little bit of backup?
Well, I didn't know it was just going to be me, but
Let's spot out a location and assess who we will be dealing with and work together.
and I'd very much like some backup. I've seen your right cross. That thing's amazing. That's gonna keep things off my back.
So be it.
Say what?
We're trying to decide who's going to go first. Whoever, there will undoubtedly be multiple operators. We will have to assess this. This first step, I believe, will be the most important, and
Okay.
also the most critical to get right.
So, you actually see Martin pull out a little notebook from one of his pulls out like a small, just like a collection of papers that are folded up in a pocket, and he unfolds it and he's like, "All right, the prison. Let's see here. Find butcher shop. See who's there. Beat them into submission. Beat them into submission. Profit. Is that about right?
That's what I heard.
Okay. I like this plan. It's simple.
Hopefully.
I mean,
Well-
it's a whole 4 steps. That seems pretty easy.
It will undoubtedly become more complicated, but I think I agree with you. Simple, easy. Well, simple, better.
Okay, so Carver, you know what a good butcher shop looks like. Let's go find us a butcher shop.
Well,
I'll go with Martin.
Before you can leave to go do that, it is a massive city. So where are you looking? Right? And the districts under themselves are even, they're quite large, right? As I had, described and used as a description many, many times, think of like New York City and how Brooklyn and the Bronx and like all these different places are basically entire giant neighborhoods unto themselves. Is the way that you should think about these districts, right? And so to narrow your search, where you would like to look might determine how well you find something of that variety. So where is it that you as a crew are going to be looking for this specific place to hang your hat, as it would be the butcher shop?
I know that Martin suggested Charter Hall.
Yeah, I don't know if there'd be a butcher in there. There'd definitely be butcher in Char Hollow.
There would also
Probably.
be butchers here in Crowsfoot. There would be butchers in the Silk Shore. Any place where there's, working class people would make sense for there to be a butcher shop. And whereas when you start moving on to places like Charter Hall and Brightstone, etc., that's when things start getting much further up there. And so because of that, even in portions of Night Market, and so because of that, prices are going to be far steeper on actually taking a place. You're going to end up having larger groups, like actual government agencies and things of that variety being what's required in order to actually get into those places. So it's not going to be as simple as just walking in and saying, this place is mine now, right? Whereas in some of the seedier areas in town, that might actually be the case.
So why don't we go with Crow's Foot, non-Red Sash territory?
It's very possible.
Sure.
I mean, what
Sure.
is Red Sash territory here? Do we know?
Mercy chimes in. I know relatively where their territories are, and I can help you avoid them so that you're not trying to claim a portion of their own.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
Not trying to be a dick.
So, I
Yes.
mean... Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yes, I think Crowsfoot is an excellent choice. There are undoubtedly people who would benefit from our endeavors.
Mercy chimes in again. Well, I could tell you then something that might answer a lot of your questions. If you're going to establish yourselves here, despite all of your intentions, you're going to have to talk to the crows. It's one thing to do a job in this district. It's another thing to claim territory. And having, connections to the Red Sashes, I'm relatively familiar with at least this district. And it's sort of, shall we say, politics. So, if you want to lay claim to something, you're going to have to pay up the chain. And if you want to make sure that you don't claim a territory just to have it taken from you immediately, you might want to reach out to the crows first.
Okay. Does anybody know a crow?
Are the crows? Are they an actual group? The crows.
Yeah, they're the most powerful gang in this district. They're the bosses, basically. Every gang pays them a tithe. So if you want to be a gang that works here and has territory here, you're going to have to pay a tithe.
For a while, at least.
Do you?
Ambitions.
Oh,
not
I see.
now.
You want to be the big dogs. I get it, but that's going to take time. They're a big organization.
I get it.
Even the people you fucked with, the gondoliers and the lampblacks, those are much bigger organizations than you. They've got manpower on you. You precision strike them in such a way to cause enough havoc and catch them unawares, and it worked really well for you. But a force-on-force action against some of these bigger groups, you're going to get smushed.
I believe we should probably, at least for the time being, initially, just while we're getting our foot off the ground, but we cannot afford ideals at this point. We should just do what we need to do.
You can see like an obvious jaw clenching. You know, Martin is obviously like clenching his jaw.
Martin, says Mercy, everybody pays the bigger dog to not get smushed in this town.
I would also remind you that the dogs that chase us are probably far bigger and far larger.
Yes, but are they here backing you up and helping you with anything at this point?
No, what I'm saying is it is okay to
I
pay the crows because
Yeah.
the individuals who are hunting this have, from what I've understood, to be larger than them.
Yeah, I don't know much on that, but yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, if you want to work in a different district, you know, things probably work different there, right? There's probably going to be different gangs that have different levels of control, but the point that I'm making here is that if you decide to work out of Crowsfoot, if you establish turf here and you take a place here in Crowsfoot, I could tell you that you're gonna have to pay up the chain, and if you don't, you're just gonna lose it. There's overnight, you know what I mean? It'll be that quick. Just they'll come in and take what's theirs.
Should we maybe choose another place?
Well, I mean, it's not too hard to pay the crows off to look the other way, you know?
Yeah, especially because you're saying that the Red Sashes and the Crows have amicable relationship.
Yeah. Ish, yeah.
Well, you tolerate each other.
Well, the crows are far more powerful in this district than the Red Sashes are. You know, but they still have the biggest sway here. I mean, this is really the only place that they hold any amount of power. Like, you go to any of their districts and the crows don't really exist here. They've pretty much focused down on this one place, right? Which tends to happen with the sort of medium range gangs, right?
How about we don't choose Crowsfoot? How about we I grew up in Dunslow, amidst the immigrants. My parents were immigrants. I'm an immigrant, technically. The individuals there are suffering, impoverished. Gangs rule that area, as they do in poor areas of the town. Perhaps there are people there who would stand to benefit, and less powerful, influential individuals who would be willing to leverage over us. I think turning people to our side should be the aim, so that way we can increase our manpower.
Right, but who in Dunslow can we really run jobs on? There's nobody there.
People in Dunslow don't have much, but that means that there's always an open market for people willing to procure them things or take from those who have more than them.
Fair point.
Oh, so what you're saying, Blinder, is you think that you guys should, like, shack up in Dunslow, out of sight, but do jobs in other places.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sure.
We could.
I mean, yeah,
we could
that
also
makes
run
sense.
like protection, for the neighborhood that we are, and as if we take from those who have more for ourselves and distribute it to pursue some our agendas that benefit those around us, then we will naturally acquire, through a good local reputation within the neighborhood, people willing to follow us. And that means more protection, and that means more people, and that means more leverage for when we decide to strike at those people who have put us in this position.
Yeah, I can deal with that.
For this idea.
Slow build-up is one that allows us the ability to make a stronger foundation. I'm for it.
I mean, plus you got that section of Dunslow, if I remember right, from my time there, that's closer to the ealeries and farms and things like that. And those people have a little bit of coin, so it wouldn't be so out of the way to have a butcher shop there. You know, you basically, it would actually make a little more sense, right? So you buy the eels from the fisheries and whatever, you know, meats, etc. they're willing to sell. You chop them up and you sell them, right? I mean, Dunslow isn't a big place of business, though. But, I mean, It would work.
But is also, for me personally, the advantage is I don't stand out quite as much. A tall Scovelander in that neighborhood is quite common.
That's fair.
Well, all right. Well, that works for me.
Okay. So you're all heading to Dunslow then?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
That happened quick.
Yeah.
I was like,
Now, do we get our cruise sheet?
Nope.
I hate you!
You're really close, though. Oh my gosh, you're so close. You're so close.
I'm really not trying to push it, like towards
I'm
the thing.
totally trying to push it. And it's because Carver wants to push it.
Yeah. I don't want to talk out of game too much, but remind me of this really quick, because, I mean, we've got about 15 minutes left in the stream, so I figured we'd at least do the scene where you guys go looking for the butcher shop, and then after that, we can come back to this real quick, and I'll share the bit, because we'd had this conversation at the end of last week's stream, and I wanted to share with you one of those. Remember how I had said there was, like, a few things that seemed, you know, that you guys just weren't picking up, you know? Like, so I'll talk about that here in a bit when we go to close down the stream. So, but for now, let me pull us over to Dunslow. Pull up the Dunslow book, or Dunslow section of the book. Beauty. Okay, so as we've talked about before, Dunslow is a ghetto for the destitute poor of the city. It is the place where the Iron Hook prison exists, which is the vast prison. There are sections of the neighborhood that have this sort of messed up relationship with Iron Hook prison as well, where prisoners are released into Dunslow with very little money to their name or anything like that, and because they're put into such a bad position, they end up having to commit crime in order to exist and survive, and they end up just getting forced back into Dunslow or into Iron Hook prison. The Iron Hook labor camps are also in Dunslow. But other than that, in the way of trade, the ealeries and fisheries, even though something to be said about this is that fish are far less common. The way that fish are made is usually not in the wild, but in fact, fish are bred in like pools in a sense, or like farms, you know, like you might see in some places that make farm fish. And it's simply because, as I talked about during the cataclysm caused the ocean to become inky black, which killed a vast majority of the wildlife that existed within it, or mutated it, or changed it. And so one of the only animals that's common, or sea-dwelling creatures that's common, are actually eels that can actively exist in this sort of inky black ocean water without being negatively affected or mutating horribly or something like that. And so because of that, when it comes to fish as a type of meat or lean protein, eel is actually far more common in Duskfall than any other type of fish that you would see. And so because of that, there are vast eelery farms in the what is basically the west section of Dunslow. And I'm going to pull that up for you here real quick so you can kind of see the map. Oh, There we are. And so this is Dunslow seen from above. As you can see, there's the Iron Hook Prison in the section of it. That is the Iron Hook Prison. The Eellery and farms are nearby. There's old docks there. There's portions of town, as I had said before. And so the crew find themselves in Dunslow. And where are you looking first?
This is your land, sir. This is not my land.
Can we just start asking around if there are any?
Start number
shops
3.
in there?
Zone 3. I'll start looking there. I just kind of like start walking towards a direction of like, I feel like I know where this place might be.
We go that way.
Yeah, I'll follow him.
Here's sort of an imagining of what the city of the area of Dunslow might look like. So there's these sort of rickshaw buildings on top of each other, set in high levels, lines set between buildings. There's mud and dirt. This is also the place where Marlene, if you remember right, at the Dunslow fighting pits is where Marlene's fighting pits are. So you, in fact, also have a connection here, Reaper. In fact, that might be a good thing in your mind to draw upon as her being a local. You could potentially seek out her help and say, hey, so this is what we're thinking about. And Marlene might be able to help point you sort of in the right direction. So
I will, let's go to the pits, guys, because I can talk to Marlene and we can figure this out.
Oh, I haven't been there in a while. Be good to see it again.
All right, so off to the pits we go.
Okay. Off to the pits you go. As I had described before, the characters find themselves at the Dunslow fighting pits. It is a simple outdoor sort of pit established, where rain can free fall down into the sand that has been set inside of it. It is an 8-foot drop that is surrounded by logs attached with ropes around it, 2 ladders feeding into it, a ramp of sand and dirt feeding down into it with sort of a cage gateway in front of it that's about the same height in order to prevent people from being able to run in or out, but just in case some sort of medical emergency happens and they can't actually get the person up the ladder. Other than that, there are what are almost kind of like barracks style or dorm style buildings that have been built rickshaw nearby where all the fighters live and sleep. The area around the fighting pits, when there's not an official fight going on, is sort of treated as a training area. Some of the fighters live here in those barracks and things like that and are around all the time, and Reaper knows quite a few of them. And some of the fighters actually live closer in their own homes and things and then travel out to the fighting pits and in order to engage. Those who have done well and earned fine purses tend to actually have homes and things like that, and usually those homes are in other districts. For example, Reaper, you had friends and family in Charhollow, basically. Well, not family, but in a sense, not blood family, but Aldo and Henna and those sorts of things, right? And so as you arrive at the Dunslow fighting pits, Marlene is sitting there barking orders down into the pit, and a few recruits are inside, engaging in some sort of training exercises. Grappling is going on. It brings back a moment of memory for you, Martin, for your time as a young man here at the fighting pits and training under Marlene. And of course, Reaper, this is just a normal, another normal Tuesday afternoon for you. Or not to say it's exactly Tuesday, but there's that sort of vibe to it. It's just another day of the week. And Marlene sees you and waves at you. Henna, seeing the wave, looks over and says, "Oh, hey!" and is cooking out of a big pot. And fighters are coming up and getting some of it. It seems to be like the mushroom mash that she had made before, but not as many nice ingredients. So it's like seasoned mushroom mash, kind of a weird malto meal of mushroom and maybe some
like
protein. Yeah, it's like porridge-ish.
Mushroom porridge.
Yeah, mushroom porridge. There's a bit of protein in there. You can tell it's at least a broth of some meat. You probably know, Reaper, that it's probably rat meat, just because that is one of the most common forms of protein in the city, other than eel. But yeah, So, but it seems that Henna has done good work, as she always does, and it is quite seasoned. It smells rather okay. It's not awful. So it's more like a porridge stew, like a very thick stew or something like that.
I grew up with this stuff. I'm gonna go get myself a bowl.
Oh yeah, it's a breakfast of champions over here. And so you grab yourself a bowl.
Is it similar?
Henna serves you up.
It similar to the food I ate?
When?
Or when I was here?
Oh yeah.
I'm getting in line.
Yeah, it's basically just, like it's your run-of-the-mill carbs and protein sort of thing. They try to season it up to make it taste better, but, it does the body good, keeps you going, keeps you fueled.
My apologies for interrupting.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine, buddy. Yeah, and your character had been here before, like I said before, having trained as a young man here.
Oh, yeah.
And so after hellos and things of that variety, as I had said, Marlene cuts a sharp eye from Reaper to Martin and looks back at Reaper and gives you one of these, like what? sort of faces towards Martin.
I came back with a crew.
It seems like you did, yes.
Aldo's doing well.
That's good.
As well as he can be.
Yeah. It's been a couple of days. He's been healing. It sounds like it's going well, though, yeah? Good.
Yeah. I have a question I wondered if you could help us with. We're looking to set up a butcher shop.
1 second, she says, and then she calls down, puts her fingers in her mouth and does this whistle, and all the rookies look up, trainees, rookies, look up at her, and she's just like, okay, clear it out. Go run laps. And then basically sends them off to run laps around the entire thing. And so off they go, climbing up the ladders, disappearing. There are still fighters around, but, it seemed like Marlene wanted to be able to give you her full attention. Anyways, you were saying, what's going on?
We're looking for a butcher shop, a place to set down our roots.
Oh, like for yourselves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just wondered if there was anything
you
good.
Wanted a butcher shop. I was like, there's only a couple of them. Yeah, I mean, over by the Ealeries, there's a small little neighborhood that's like shops and things like that. I mean, they're not super high quality, but most of the locals go there and shop. There's a lot of empty buildings and things like that, as is common, because businesses can't usually afford to stay open unless they get bought out or something like that by, shall we say, behind the scenes sort of things. So, I mean, you might be able to find an empty one, or I guess if you're looking to buy out one that already exists, it depends on how much money you've made in the last week. Holy shit. You just smile like that? I will presume that your time that you've been gone has gone well for you then.
Fairly well.
Better than...
Is there anything that you need?
I'm good. Plenty of gambling around here. I'm always well fed and got coin in my pocket. I'm not worried about it. But
good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few shops down there, off in the neighborhood, and I mean, I could have one of the rookies send you that way. I mean, you're relatively familiar with Dunslow, but he's a local, so he could probably show you around a little better if you wanted.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Do you want to leave right now, or do you want to sort of chit-chat and catch up? I mean, Hannah would love to chat with you.
Sure, yeah. I think Carver went to the little boys' room, so we're waiting for him.
Okay.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Speak of the...
It was almost as if he conveniently timed the entire event.
Yes.
So I'll look at Carver. Marlene here is going to help us find a butcher shop. She's got a place in mind. And one of the fighters is going to take us, who's a local to Dunslow, take us to show us where it's at.
Oh? Okay.
So were we more interested in establishing a new butchery, or are we looking to buy somebody else out?
If we buy somebody else out, then we don't have to worry about equipment or stock. Most likely they'll have that on hand, and once we acquire the new books, we'll have all of their customer base and be able to plan financially. but setting up brand new isn't that challenging.
Let's find somebody who who if we buy somebody out, the person will if we buy somebody out, then the person that we are buying the business from will stand to gain significantly financially. Perhaps we could find a failing butcher's business and make at least somebody's life a little better for a temporary time.
Marlene looks over at this, like, probably early 20s, you know, green behind the ears sort of kid, you know, wide-eyed, waiting when Marlene calls him out. Hey, come over here. She calls him over. So, this is the kid I was talking about. What is, did you hear what they were saying? Can you repeat yourself for him?
We're looking for a place that we can buy out.
Okay.
In butchery.
Okay. The kid's like, like a butcher place? Like, well...
Meat cutting.
Meat cutting. Oh, well, we don't get a whole lot of meat that's not rat around here. I mean, we got a lot of eels. Wait, there was that place that like, doesn't get a lot of business, and it's over in, what's that neighborhood? It has some name. Anyways, I could show you to it. The place was called Oh My Cod.
Oh my god. No wonder they closed down.
Yeah, I mean, people would love the name, and then they'd go in, and it'd be like, "Oh, you don't have any cod, you just have eels." You know, it was a great name. Bad branding, though. You know, I don't know.
Right.
I don't really know all that stuff.
Probably left over from before the bad times.
Yeah, I mean, it might be.
I think you should rename it to Eels Exciting.
Eel sighting. Eels exciting. Okay, these are being some great puns, says the kid. But I can go show you that. Do you want to go right now or what?
We don't have to go immediately. I mean, if
Well, why not?
just being
We're
considered
trying to relax, are we not?
I imagine Reaper wants to catch up a little bit more with Marlene, and you obviously appreciate the cuisine here.
I do. It's still make a good bowl there,
Well,
Marlene.
Marlene sort of nods, but doesn't really accept the compliment in a sense. Sort of eyes you, Martin.
it's fine. You could. I don't care.
Well, why don't a couple of you go check it out, and me and Reaper will catch up.
Go with dude.
Sure.
I'll go with kid.
Wait, aren't you that guy that worked for Brill?
Yeah.
Do you still work for Brill?
Sometimes.
When was the last time you saw him?
A few days ago.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 days at this point. Almost a week.
Last week, a few days ago. Somewhere around there.
Okay. Just wondered how he was doing. Anyways, yeah, sure. And at that, Marlene sort of walks off over to Henna.
Okay.
I presume, by the way, just in case it wasn't clear, that Mercy stayed with the goods and was keeping watch on it for you guys so you could all go out. That's why
Okay.
Mercy is in here, right?
Okay.
I
Mercy,
will,
babysitter.
yeah, Mercy's babysitting the money. He's just sitting there rocking the strongbox. Oh.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I just realized, though, that we are now past our time by 4 minutes. So what I'm going to say is this. We will pick up here next game, right at the beginning of the game, and we will then go into, the scene where Reaper gets to, catch up with Marlene and Henna, that sort of thing, and then the scene where Martin and Carver are off finding, oh my god, the butcher shop. And, yeah, Blinder, were you going with him or are you staying?
Blinder will go with him.
Okay. And my last little tidbit that I'm going to say here before we end the game tonight is that Blinder, now, hours later, after waking up, having his breakfast, goes checking through his pockets. And not only is his wallet missing, but so is
great.
that piece of stone.
Awesome.